26 speakers. Good evening. Tonight's Monday, June the 13th, and this is the Cabarrus County Board of Education business meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. To begin with, we'll have the presentations of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. The combined unit of the Air Force JROTC cadets will be presenting the colors for us. If you will, please stand.
Color guard. Hold. Left. Face. Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Host. Right. Face. Forward. March. Color guard. Hold. You may be seated.
As I noted earlier, the combined unit of the Air Force JROTC cadets presented the colors, and they consisted of the Central Cabarrus's Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Trent Lites, Mount Pleasant High School Cadet Airman First Class Sarah Moore, Northwest Cabarrus High School Cadet Airman First Class Theron Jordan, and J.M. Robinson High School Cadet Major Alec Main. Dr. Kurt led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to recognize our SRO Deputy Luke Saibo from Northwest Cabarrus High School. Thank you for coming out tonight and being with us. And then I would like us to pause for a moment of silence. As many of you know, we had a large tragedy in this nation over the weekend, and it actually affected some family here in this county. Shane Tomlinson, a graduate of Northwest Cabarrus High School, 1999, graduate of East Carolina College, was one of the young men who passed in this awful tragedy. Keep his family and all the folks that were not only who passed, but also the ones that were injured, and as we begin to try to understand what happened. So if you will, bow with me and we will have a moment of silence, please. Amen. All right, board members, it's time to set the agenda. Is there a motion to set the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to add an agenda item to the action agenda for reinstatement of courtesy ridership of EC siblings. Please.
Action item for courtesy ridership. All right, do I have a second for Mr. Powell's motion to adjust the agenda? Hearing none, that motion will not carry. We now need a motion to continue on to set our agenda. Is there a motion to set our agenda? Mr. Harrison makes the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Walter? All in favor of approving the agenda as written, say aye. Aye. Oppose? That motion carries 6-1, Ms. Monroe. All right, we're working 5-1. Sorry, excuse me, I'm in a habit. Dr. Phillips is not with us tonight. He has taken a business trip away.
Mr.
And-
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I will second I change that. I will second Mr. Powell's motion to add it.
Can I do this and go backwards?
The board has already voted to set the agenda. There's the possibility to amend it after advisory.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the agenda as so described by myself.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend. And that's to add that.
Yes, I've got it written down. I'm just waiting for clarification.
Yeah, if it fails, it fails.
Under Policy 2330, once the agenda is adopted, it may not be altered except by 2/3 vote of the board members present.
Okay, so it will require of the 6 of us, 4 of us to vote for this particular item. All right, board members, we have a motion to adjust our agenda as such, and it requires a 2/3 vote of this board, of the ones present. Huh? Well, anyway, so we now have a motion before us, now submitted to vote. All those in favor of adding the motion to discuss the item or to have an action agenda item on courtesy ridership for EC siblings, say aye. All opposed, say no. No. Motion is defeated.
Mr. Chairman,
2-4. Yes, sir.
since this comes up numerous times, can we not, instead of adding it to the agenda or try to get it added to the agenda, can we just put it on next month's agenda? Is that possible? I mean, we all agree to do that. I mean, I understand, the reasons why we're not putting it on the agenda, I think it makes sense to some of us because, we want to give everyone, the staff, a chance to, to be ready for whatever questions is going to be asked. But I think that it's that important that I'm not so certain it shouldn't be on the agenda for, say, August.
Okay. I have a suggestion being made by Mr. Furr, and Mr. Walter said he'd agree to that. So why don't we just go ahead and make a formalized motion to put it on the agenda and pick a date.
I'll move we add the so described issue to the August business meeting. Wait a minute. July, you're right, July.
July's going to be really packed. Can we put it in August?
The only reason why I think probably July is better is because this does involve actual families that are potentially being split up. One child going to one school and one child going to another. And I think that maybe that's why we wanted to look at it
In July?
in July, but I certainly understand. Okay, in
All
July.
right, July.
So Mr. Powell has made a motion that we add the item for courtesy ridership for EC siblings to the July agenda, and I have Mr. Walter seconding that motion, excuse me. All right, board members, all in favor of adding that motion, having that motion added to the July agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No. All right, so that passes 4-2, and that will be added to our July agenda. Okay,
Who are the nays? I'm sorry.
David Harrison and Barry Shoemaker voted against, and the other 4 voted for.
Gotcha. I just couldn't hear you.
Yeah. You want to call me out? Recognitions. Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month. Dr. Chris Louder is not here, so Mr. Vaughn or just Miss Jones.
Just me.
All right.
So actually, we do, good evening, board members. Miss Marcia Robertson is a CTE teacher at Cox Mill High School, and she could not be with us tonight, but we did want to take just an opportunity to recognize her as the Hilbish Ford Teacher of the Month for June 2016, and hopefully we'll be able to recognize her in person next month.
Thank you.
So does that mean you'll have 2 next month?
I'm sorry.
You'll have 2 recognitions next month? Or?
Well, we will not have another one until August, so we'll have the June and then we'll start back in August. September, Ronnie's correcting me and saying September. Okay. I'm staying because I'm up again.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Special recognition and appreciation for Kelly Baumgardner,
Yes, and I'm
our
going to,
2016 Teacher of the Year and our board liaison.
yes, so I'm
we're
going to
going to
ask
miss
Kelly
her.
just to come on down front and stand on the X marks the spot down here. Kelly Baumgardner, the Cabarrus County Schools 2015-16 Teacher of the Year, began her journey to become an educator as a junior in high school when she accepted a teaching apprenticeship in an elementary reading classroom. That experience inspired Kelly to continue her passion and pursue her bachelor's in elementary education from Presbyterian College, that's in Clinton, South Carolina, in case folks don't know that, as well as her master's of middle school education from the University of Georgia. Kelly began her teaching career in Georgia and in 2007 joined Cabarrus County Schools as a 7th grade English language arts teacher at Northwest Cabarrus Middle School. In addition to teaching, Kelly serves as the AIG chair, the 7th grade PLC leader, is a member of the ELA curriculum writing team for Cabarrus County, and serves on her school leadership team. Through the Miriam and Robert Hayes Charitable Trust, Kelly will be traveling to South Africa June 17th through June the 29th with several other educators throughout North Carolina with the Center for International Understanding. This experience will allow Kelly an opportunity to learn more about South Africa's history, culture, and education system, as well as explore global challenges and develop potential partnerships with other schools. Angie Martin, the J.N. Fries Magnet School 2015-16 Teacher of the Year, will be traveling with Kelly. This evening, we would like to thank Kelly Baumgardner for serving as the teacher representative on the Cabarrus County Board of Education for the 2015-16 school year. Kelly's service to Cabarrus County Schools is invaluable, and we thank Kelly for her commitment to education and the students of Cabarrus County Schools. We would like to present Kelly with just a small token of our appreciation, and I'm going to give this to her, and then I'm going to have her come through and shake hands.
All right, Mr. Art Whitaker will come forward, and he will present us the Cabarrus County Schools Bus Driver of the Year.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We in transportation like to start off by saying a first-class education starts with a first-class bus ride. Tonight, we have somebody that exemplifies that statement, Mrs. Michelle Eisenhower. I have her supervisor from A.T. Allen tonight with me, and Mrs. Yates is going to say a little other words about her.
I'm very proud to award Michelle Eisenhower, Cabarrus County Schools Bus Driver of the Year Award. She's worked for Cabarrus County Schools for the past 5 years with perfect attendance. And in the short time that I've worked with her with transportation and buses, I quickly realized that she is a person that I can rely on for anything. She took me under her wing and kind of taught me the ways about transportation and buses at Allen. She's always one to go above and beyond her expectations. She will schedule buses for field trips, make sure they're fueled, step up if someone's out. She takes new bus drivers under her wing and mentors them as well. I think more than anything, it's the compassion, though, that she shows for others, especially the relationships she builds with her students. And just those relationships have helped her be a successful driver because she truly cares about how they get home and their education. So I'm glad she's part of our team because she's definitely a team player. Thank you, Michelle.
Go down through there. Okay.
I'll now ask Mr. Brian Tyson to come to the podium to give us the Athletic Achievement Awards.
Good evening. I would like to call forward any state champion that showed up tonight to be recognized. Brittany Stanley and Tori Weathers, if you are here. If you guys remember Brittany, she was just up here a few weeks ago as we recognized her for the Winter State Championships in the indoor track, and we kind of figured she was going to be back again. And she's been quite busy here lately racking up some other state championships. We'd like to congratulate Brittany again. She won the 2016 Outdoor State Champion in the 16-meter run, 4 minutes 59.96 seconds to set a new school record. She also won the 800-meter state championship in the 2A with a 2-minute 13.53 second run for a new state 2A record. Okay, so congratulations, Brittany, on that. And just a few other things on Brittany. She was the North Carolina 2A Midwest Regional Champion in the 1,600 and 800-meter runs. She was Rocky River Conference Champion in the 1,600, 800-meter, and the 400-meter run. Also added that to it. She was a Rocky River Conference Runner of the Year and the Cabarrus County Champion in the 1,600 and the 800 meter run as well. So congratulations, Brittany. We are very happy for you. And I think we need to mention, we did have a couple other state champions this spring, also in track, and they had a hard choice to make whether to go to the beach for graduation or come to the school board meeting. And I even offered we could FaceTime this thing, and they turned me down on that as well, so I don't blame them. But we also had the Cox Mill girls track team as far as the 4x100 meter relay. They were the 3A state champions, and those team members were Joy Jackson, Bria Street, Jasmine Cox, and Tracy Manigault. We also had Tori Weathers, which was in front of us a few weeks ago also for an indoor state championship. She also won the 3A state championship this past spring in the long jump of 18 feet. So we want to congratulate those folks as well. I have another recognition to make as well tonight, and that is the Awesome Club from Mount Pleasant High School. So if those folks would come forward. And Brittany is also a member of that club as well. Right. I had listed here that 4 members would be coming to this tonight. Shay Starnes, Brittany Stanley, Kylie Redmond, and Anne Marie Metz. This is the Awesome Club, for those of you that don't know. It stands for Athletes Who Share Unselfish Moments. This is the second year in a row that this club has won this award, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's Commissioner's Cup, and it goes to outstanding community service. And these folks have raised thousands of dollars for organizations and community people, hardships, and just done an outstanding job. And we're so proud of them. The North Carolina High School Athletic Director of Grants and Fundraising commented after watching their video that they submit as saying the level of energy, caring, and commitment displayed by the athletes is second to none. So second year in a row, we want you to watch the video. It's just a 2-minute short clip. Dr. Technology, Dr. Probst here will key that up for me. I think you'll enjoy this.
Athletes. Sarah.
It was really dramatic to be diagnosed with cancer. I appreciate everything that you've done for me and supporting me at a benefit and raising $12,000. And it makes the whole community and myself proud to have such an organization within Northwest.
Unselfish.
We were beyond honored and humbled to receive support from the Awesome Club, also out of Mount Pleasant High School, and could not be more inspired and happy to see the next generation of leaders doing their part to make society a better place.
Moments.
Friends of the Library is so grateful for your $500 donation. We use it in a lot of ways. One way will help kids with ACT classes and buying supplies for children's programs at the library.
This year's been really rough. I'm having struggles with a very rare kidney disease, and I've been having to miss a lot of school, and we've been struggling a lot financially. The Awesome Club and the student athletes have been amazing with that.
Thank you, girls, for all that you've done for our community. If you'll shake these board members' hands, we really appreciate all that you do.
All right, board members, this carries us to the approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. I'm sorry. I wrote in the wrong spot. We have Distinguished STEM School State Recognition. Dr. Van Hukelum, are you going to come to the podium?
Miss Bridget Jones is coming to the podium. She works directly with our STEM schools as our STEM coordinator.
My mistake.
Thank you. Do I need to say it all again? No, I'm good. Okay, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the STEM recognition process and then tell you about what our evaluators found at each school, and then I would call each of the schools up to listen to what the designees had to say. So Culture and Web Elementary School, Patriots STEM Elementary School, and Central Cabarrus High School STEM Magnet program underwent a very rigorous application process that required detailed responses covering 40 key elements that defined quality characteristics rooted within the 11 STEM attributes, including strategic, class documentation, video evidence, self-assessments aligning to the attribute implementation rubric, and identification practices. This criteria, along with a panel of reviewers' consensus and site visits, led to this designation. I know it doesn't sound that exciting, what I just read to you, but this process really helps shape our STEM programs, and I'm just really proud of all of our programs. And I'm going to call each one up to talk a little bit about what the evaluation team found. First, I would like to start with Central Cabarrus High School. Representing STEM at Central Cabarrus High School is Andrew Crook, their principal, and Bethany Gregory, their STEM coach. Do you want them in the front? Yeah, okay. Okay. Central Cabarrus STEM program, in concert with the county's K-12 Strategic Plan of Leadership and Learning, has created and is implementing an environment where students are given opportunities to explore, question, create, and be innovative through problem and inquiry-based learning experiences. Students are empowered to grow intellectually as they construct relevant connections within their coursework to STEM opportunities that extend outside the classroom walls. And if you guys would stay there, I'd like to call up Patriots STEM Elementary. Representing Patriots STEM Elementary is Stephen Bookhart, their principal. Brenda Eason, the K-12 STEM coordinator, and Jill Stanton, their STEM coach. Patriots Elementary School and its community has created and is implementing an environment where students, through facilitative teaching, have the opportunity to explore, question, and be creative through problem and project-based learning experiences. Patriot School Vision, in concert with the county's K-12 Strategic Plan of Leadership and Learning, fosters individual achievements and growth, enabling students to behold relevant connections within their coursework to real-world opportunities that extend outside their classroom walls. Next is Culture and Web. And to represent Culture and Web tonight is Mr. Nosalak, who was a huge partner in helping to write the application. Thank you. Huge part of the application process. And Mr. Nosalek is a parent of Culture and Web. Culture and Web Elementary School and its community has created and is implementing an environment where students, through facilitative teaching, have the opportunity to explore, question, and be creative through individual and collaborative problem and project-based learning experiences. Culture and Web School's vision, in concert with the county's K-12 Strategic Plan of Leadership and Learning, fosters individual achievements and growth, enabling students to behold relevant connections within their coursework to real-world opportunities that extend outside their classroom walls. And this is my favorite part. After having met with many of your school's K-5 student members, it is apparent the students truly enjoy learning as well as each other with a sense of camaraderie and respect. So as you know, Jan Fries Middle School also received the North Carolina STEM designation in 2014. This means that Cabarrus County Schools has the only K-12 STEM pipeline in the state. This is a remarkable achievement, and we couldn't be more proud of our students, staff, parents, volunteers, and community supporters. A special thank you to you, our Board of Education, for approving and helping to build a foundation for a successful STEM model. Congratulations, STEM schools.
Yeah, what a great honor. I asked Dr. Van Hukelum how many schools in the state actually got this award, and he said this year, out of 7 schools, we got 3 of them. So that's pretty interesting statistics to add to the accolades that have already been given. Board members, will move on to approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. One is from the May 2nd work session and then the May 9th business meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of May the 2nd and May the 9th.
Okay. All right. Ms. Carolyn Carpenter makes the motion. David Harrison seconds that motion. Any other discussion? And Mr. Walter would like to abstain. You were from both meetings, right, sir? And he would like to abstain from the vote. Do we need to do a vote on that, or just okay? All right. So all in favor of approving the minutes as written and as the motion says, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? That motion carries 5-0. That moves us to the reports. And we have the Cabarrus County Annual Report from Ms. Ronnie Boone.
Good evening. Each year, our Communications and Public Information team produces an annual report which reviews the previous school year and highlights the successes that our district has enjoyed. No doubt in our next annual report, we'll be talking about our STEM recognition and some of the state championship accolades that we just watched earlier this evening. I'm pleased to present to you tonight our annual report for the 2014-15 school year, and this year's report is called Success Magnified. And I'm going to ask Dr. Technology, can you get to it or do I need to open it here? No, it's on here. I just didn't know. I don't want to mess this up.
Okay, is it on the computer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
It's right there.
This one?
Yes.
Oh,
PDF.
it's easy.
Ta-da. See? One of the first things that you will notice when you are given the chance to look through Success Magnified is that it's a departure from our previous annual reports. It doesn't look or feel the same as the annual reports that we have produced in the past. Our team decided that it was time for us to switch things up a little bit and continue to be innovative and creative and fresh. So the report you will see reads more like a magazine rather than just a document with lots of stats and numbers in it. We have included several feature stories about the people and the programs that help to make Cabarrus County Schools the great place that it is, and we're very excited to share that with you this evening. The report also showcases statistics and facts like you would come to expect for an annual report, but those are embedded in a lot of the feature articles that are included. And then we also have the awesome photography that you also come to expect for our publications. So this year's report includes a feature on a successful community partnership that we have with Longhorn Steakhouse that we're very excited to share with you. That the partnership is between the restaurant and our Exceptional Children's Department, and it helps our OCS students to gain work skills in the real world. They actually work at the restaurant. We also have a feature on the Cabarrus County Schools Education, or the Cabarrus County Education Foundation, I'm sorry. And we have a feature on a roundtable discussion between Dr. Lauder and Dr. Adam Auerbach, who was a former Principal of the Year, and our very own Kelly Baumgardner, who is our outgoing Teacher of the Year, where they actually discuss several topics related to education and share their views on those topics as well. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to just sort of scroll through the document just so you can get a flavor for it. It will be available online later this week. And we will have hard copies that will be printed later and available later this summer. So if you are wanting to have your very own personal hard copy, we can get that for you as well. So this is Success Magnified, and like I said, I'll just scroll through it very, very quickly. This is our cover, and we start out with our mission, our vision, our belief statements. We have an introduction here from Dr. Louder, and then we move into our feature articles, which the first one is the partnership with Longhorn Steakhouse, and we interview the manager. We also have an interview here with a student who is a Concord High School IB student who is quite interested in science, and he is just an amazing young man. His name is Nathan Suri. And then this is the roundtable discussion that I mentioned before. We also are including a segment on our cabinet leaders where we ask them some questions about Cabarrus County Schools and what they think sets Cabarrus County Schools apart, and a little personal information as well. And this is the feature about our partnership with the Education Foundation. And then we've got the snapshot is where you will find a lot of the stats and figures and things like that that you usually find in an annual report. And then our closing credits, our school listings, and our, oops, let me go back. Can't go back, sorry. And a listing of our, there we go, board members and more photographs. So I hope that once we get this loaded onto our website, that you'll take some time to look through it and that you enjoy this next iteration of our annual report. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Thanks.
Any questions, board members? Hearing none. Thank you again for the great work you've done there. It looks like a really nice format, a little different from usual, though. All right, we have come to board chair comments, and I'll just make one comment. This weekend was a big, big weekend. We graduated nearly 2,100 students, I believe. And we also graduated our first classes of STEM and IB, so that was a huge success. Both got graduates this year. With that, I will now pass that on to Dr. Van Huckelen and let him carry on with more specifics.
Sure. Well, first of all, Dr. Louder's on a much-needed vacation, so he's not here with us tonight, so I'm sitting in. But he wanted to make sure we communicate to everybody that we're very thankful to all of you who attended the School Choice Community Forum last Thursday, a great session with lots of good discussion. We appreciate your continued interest and involvement in this process. Also, I want to say congratulations to the class of 2016. Approximately 2,200 students received their diplomas in ceremonies that were celebratory, inspiring, and poignant. As Dr. Louder stated in his remarks to the graduates, we are proud of you and we love you. Along with graduation exercises, we closed out another school year on Wednesday. Want to wish all of our students a safe and happy summer. We look forward to seeing everybody back on August 29th for another wonderful school year. And finally, many of our CCS staff members are busy preparing for the new school year. We have over 100 of them participating in Curriculum Review Week this week at Winkler Middle School, so thank you to those teachers, and lots of professional development that will happen throughout this school year, or throughout the summer in preparation for next school year. So everyone have a great summer, and we'll see you back in August.
Thank you, Dr. Van Huckelen. All right, we've come to the portion of our program that you all have been waiting for. This is the guest speakers. Yes. And in accordance with our board policy 2310 as revised by the board on May the 11th, 2015, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board. Sign-up cards will be available for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the board. Speakers must hand a completed card to the board clerk no later than 6 p.m. Looks like many of you have made that decision. the normal start time of our regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. The board chair will decide the time devoted to public comments. Speakers must complete the contact information card, including their name, the group name if applicable, the address, phone number, and a list of the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. Basically, if you speak for yourself, you'll speak for 3 minutes. If you speak for a group and it's noted on this card that way, then you will get the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. So I will call your name out based in the order these cards have been handed to me, and we will go from there. So please be patient. We have a lot to go through. My first person that will be coming to this podium, and I believe the mic is on for you, so if you see a little red light on the mic, then you know that the mic is active and awaiting your voice. Amy Brewer, and she wants to talk about middle school magnet. If Ms. Brewer would come forward.
Hello all, I'm Amy Brewer, lead teacher at Concord Middle School. When I began teaching at Concord Middle School in 2007, our school was at 85.7% proficient in reading and 67.8% proficient in math, which was competitive with the district average of 87.8% proficient in reading and 74.2% proficient in math. Over time, with redistricting and the creation of the J.M. Freeze Magnet School, our scores have slowly dropped over time. According to Magnet Schools of America, magnet schools are schools of choice. Children are enrolled based on their interest in the school's theme, not based on where they live. They were originally developed as an outcome of the 1960s protest over school desegregation and the educational reform model of public school choice as a way to address educational inequity. By creating J.M. Freeze as a magnet STEM IB program and dropping neighborhood students in 2011, we went against the original goals of the magnet school program. I believe that the perception of the IB created by J.M. Freeze Magnet School is that IB is only for the smart kids. However, 60% of the IB schools in the United States are Title I schools. According to the IB website, the middle years IB program is inclusive by design so that students of all interests and academic abilities can benefit from their participation. Implementation of the middle years program is a whole school endeavor, meaning that every student in the school will benefit from the IB model. This means that neighborhood students from Concord Middle and Winkler would benefit from the challenging framework that encourages students to make practical connections between their studies and the real world. Many of these students would not have this opportunity if the program were to remain at J.M. Freeze. Our students deserve this opportunity also. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of visiting Paisley IB Magnet School in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is a Title I school where students' demographics of the classrooms look very similar to the classrooms at Concord Middle School. However, the students were learning and thinking about things differently. In one classroom, all students were engaged in an in-depth discussion of the book of Mice and Men, which is typically taught at the high school level. These were 8th grade inclusion students. Many of the stuff that was going on in the classrooms was amazing to see. The students of all diverse populations were learning like they should be, and they were learning from one another. It wasn't just people that could afford to send their kids to a different school or could transport kids to hub schools that were getting to have this opportunity. It was all students. By moving the IB program to Concord Middle School in Winkler, it does not mean that the standards will be dropped for students. It simply means that more students will have access to those educational methodologies. As you go forth and make a decision, please remember to do what is best for all students.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Our next will be Tess Klutz, Magnet Program.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Van Hoeklem, and community members. My name is Tess Klutz, and tonight I come to you in the unique position of being both a teacher and a parent directly affected by the proposed school choice plan. My son is a rising sixth grader from Weddington Hills IB program, and I am a teacher at Concord Middle School. I've been keeping up with the website formed by our magnet parents as well as their Facebook page, and I have been both saddened and disgusted to see the growth and justification of an elitist mentality rising up within them. I did not choose IB for my son because I was dissatisfied with his neighborhood school, to gain him social status, to shelter him from diversity, or because I was disappointed in his schooling up to that point. I chose IB for my son because the program itself speaks to his individual needs. I didn't choose a school for my son, I chose a program. I have no problems with him going to Freeze for middle school or Concord Middle School with the neighborhood kids or the free and reduced lunch population, because he'll still be receiving that same program and curriculum regardless. The curriculum and methodology are not changing. The only difference is the addition of students who would not necessarily have had that opportunity otherwise. In its second year, 88 students, half of the fifth grade class at Weddington Hills, will be moving into an IB middle program. Obviously, there's a demand for the program if that many children from one school are taking advantage of it. I've attended recent meetings, hearing some valid concerns and questions presented to the board. However, what I hear when the very same parents exit the boardroom tells us the larger fight against relocating IB and expanding STEM is because the vast majority of the most vocal parents do not want their children in classrooms of schools with whom they refer to as those kids and those teachers. Comments like, "How can those teachers possibly teach my child?" demonstrate how grossly misinformed many parents truly are. Those teachers at Concord, Winkler, Northwest, and Griffin all hold the same licensure. Many of us hold master's degrees, national board certifications, AIG licensure, and GLE endorsements. Those teachers come in early and leave late every day working to bring their students the best education possible, as do teachers at every other school in Cabarrus County. Make no mistake about it, we are just as equipped as Jay and Freeze to teach their children. The comments regarding our students were far more appalling, clearly demonstrating the true reason behind their fight to, quote, leave Jay and Freeze alone. I do not want my child with those kids, referring to our students as delinquents and misfits. These types of comments, sadly, are the comments we've heard before almost 60 years ago as 9 students entered Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas for the first time through crowds of signs that read, "We won't go to school with Negroes," and chants of 2468, "We ain't going to integrate." While the recent comments may not be directed toward a particular race or religion and are not nearly as severe, they are just as full of hatred, contempt, and disgust. The next time they refer to those children as those kids, please remember that they are just that, children. They are children too young to understand and defend themselves against such comments. Our children deserve the best opportunities we can provide them. Please take care to remember that our children are watching our actions and hearing our words. Do we want them to grow up believing they are better than everyone else because they can afford it? Or do we want them to grow up with every opportunity available to them in an environment that mimics the diversity and culture of the real world? Board members, as you make your decision on what to do with our Jay and Freeze Magnet program, I respectfully urge you to remember that you were elected by the people of Cabarrus County to serve the best interest of all students in Cabarrus County, and all students in Cabarrus County deserve these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klutz. Ms. Christina Horgan, she's going to talk about school choice.
Hi. My name is Christina Horgan, and I just finished my 19th year teaching at Concord Middle School. All of them have been at Concord Middle. Many things have been said about the proposed changes. Many of the things that have been said about my kids and my school have not been kind. I find myself wanting to stand up for my kids and my school. Here's a little bit about myself. I grew up in a world where everybody looked like me. There was very little diversity. I went to college where there was very little diversity. Moving here 19 years ago was pure luck. And now I am surrounded by the very diversity that I didn't even know that I was missing. And I wouldn't want it any other way. My students have always questioned me why I am teaching what I am teaching and how it has any importance in their lives. They do not make it easy, but they make it very fulfilling. I do not have any children of my own, but I have had thousands of students walk through my life and I have always learned more from them than I think I have taught. My kids go through life with such silly grace and courage. Their normal would break many of us, but not them. They stand up to obstacles and do their very best to overcome them, and it has been my honor to help them in any way that I can. I have been made a better person just simply by being able to be around these kids at this school. Until you have walked a mile in their shoes, please do not make assumptions about these kids at this school. I work with amazing people who have taken on the challenges presented to us as they come, and there have been many. Through all of the inconsistency we have faced, one thing has never changed, and that is the love of our kids. We are in it for them because they are in it for us. We are all better because of each other. I understand that my words, our words, may not have any effect on what the outcome is, but please know this. I became a minor in 1997, and I plan to retire as a minor in 2027, 10 years. The decision made about my school and my kids will not impact where I am in August. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horgan. Next up is Tracy Dinkmeyer, and she wants to talk about the school plan.
Good evening. I am in the unique position of both teaching at Concord Middle and being a parent of a student there. I love my school and attended the meeting here June 6th simply to listen. One of the comments that most resonated with me after attending the board meeting was the idea that there is an incorrect perception in our county. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Perhaps this adage is true for some of our schools in Cabarrus County, but certainly not for all of our schools. In the words of Vice Chair Carpenter, our focus must be doing the very best for the children. According to Board Chair Barry Shoemaker, we aren't using our middle schools very well. Middle school success is so important to students, and so a proposal has been created to help us do the very best thing for our schools, our students, and our community. This proposal is certainly innovative, and innovation is something that makes Cabarrus County Schools a leader in North Carolina. We have a plan that has been created by the county administration and a chance to do the very best for all the children. Richard Kahlenberg, a senior education researcher and one of the nation's leading advocates for economic integration, states that the research on increased economic diversity in schools is clear. Such schools have benefits including enhanced critical thinking, higher academic achievement, greater civic responsibility, higher college-going rates, and more lucrative jobs. If we are going to continue to make Cabarrus County schools the clear choice, we cannot continue to not use our middle schools well. We are accountable to our stakeholders, as was also mentioned at the meeting, and the success of the magnet program at J.N. Freeze provides insight into the gains of incorporating programs like IB and STEM at more of our schools. We have the power to reach 4,000 students instead of 972. This should clearly be our choice.
Thank you, Ms. Dinkmeyer. Next up is Claudette Smith. Ms. Claudette Smith is going to speak out on school choice.
Hello. I'm the parent of 3 children that have been through your district. We come from several other states that I've seen different school systems. And I'm very concerned with the school choice. My son was in the graduating class of the STEM students at Central, and I'd like my daughter to go on with that. But she is at J.N. Freeze, and we're zoned for Concord, which means she would go to Northwest. And I'm one of those parents where I listen to my kids, I listen to their friends, and it's not about I don't want them to go to school with those kids because my kids are those kids. We're not rich. We don't look like you. But there are issues at these schools. My daughter had an issue at Jay and Freeze where someone had threatened her. When I talked to the resource officer, he said that there is a difference with those kids and the school that he came from, which I'm not going to name, but there is a difference. These kids are unique, and they just have a different attitude because they wanted to be there. And I'm concerned with my daughter going on in Northwest because I do hear bad things about, not necessarily the teachers, but maybe it's just the students, that they just have a different attitude about things. And I just want you to be aware that maybe you don't hear from people like me. But other parents at the school, they don't, from Jay and Freeze that I talked to, they don't necessarily have, they didn't choose the Jay and Freeze to be with certain kids that are more elite with financial status, but because that's where their kids want to be. So we have it's a very diverse group there. And the kids at STEM, they like their school, and they're a good group of kids. They really are. And they are different. They really are. They're just not all the same. And so if you take that into consideration, and a lot of schools where, a lot of areas, you have magnet programs, you have to get in. It is what it is. And once you start putting it here and putting it there, your school's just, the only thing that changes is the name. That's it. So you might want to, and yes, it would be nice for everyone to have that opportunity, but it just doesn't work everywhere. It's just, you end up with just this school with this name, and you have the same result that you had before the name changed. So I just hopefully take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Next up is Mr. Walter Smith. Okay.
My name is Walter Smith, and I was part of the first graduating class for STEM. I went through 8th grade all the way through 12th grade, and I would have to say that putting STEM, like magnet schools everywhere, would go ahead and dilute the diversity that you've created in the first place. And I would have to, like, I went to some of these schools. Like, I went to C.C. Griffin, and I would have to say that I didn't have the best experience with the students that went there. I don't know how it is right now, but yeah, some of the kids are bad. And that's really all I have to say. But, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and congratulations on your graduation. Ms. Heather Workman, she'll come forward and speak on school choice plan.
Hi. I'm also an employee at C.C. Griffin, but also a parent who had 3 kids go through C.C. Griffin. 1 child's still there, and I still have 2 more kids to go through C.C. Griffin. I got to say, I cannot be more proud to say that I'm an employee and a parent. My kids have had tremendous success at C.C. Griffin. As a parent, I take responsibility for that because my kids get out of it what I put into it, what I help them get out of it. And I hope you guys just make it available for everybody. Let these options be open for everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Workman. Next up is Ms. Marianne Capel. She's going to speak on school choice.
Hi, I'm a media technology assistant at C.C. Griffin. I also have 2 kids who are part of Cabarrus County Schools. They're not a part of the STEM program. This does not affect them one way or the other. I do have one that's at Central and one that's at Hickory Ridge High School. I put my youngest son at C.C. Griffin after Miss Bullock hired me at C.C. Griffin. Thank God every night that she did hire me there, because I was able to put him at C.C. Griffin. Everyone thought I was crazy for taking him out of Hickory Ridge Middle and putting him there. And I knew that it was the best place for him to be. And if you look at us on paper, we might not be the prettiest and the best scoring of school, but Our staff, I will put up against anyone bar none. They care. They choose to be there. They're not picking the kids they're teaching. They're teaching the kids we get. And they do the job they love. And they love to be at that school. And I think it's exciting to have the STEM program reach more people. From what I understood from the meeting we had the other night, at this point it's guaranteed 43% if we don't change the middle schools the way we are. I'm not great at math, but I think that's 57% of kids who are in STEM who will not have a place to go to for middle school if you don't make this change. And y'all have proven that it works. The kids like it, they want it, and these schools are willing to take on the responsibility to continue the program, and it's a good thing for everyone, so I hope that y'all take that under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Capel. Ms. Jessica Rogers-Flager. And she's going to talk on the school choice STEM proposal.
Hi. My name is Jessica Rogers-Flieger, and I just completed my 15th year in Cabarrus County and my 14th at C.C. Griffin. Our school has seen many changes due to the area growing. We've gone from a school of distinction to a school that on paper doesn't score well. Our proficiency percentile only tells part of our story. What those numbers don't show is how we grow students each and every year. The rating doesn't show the dedication and heart that the teachers at Griffin pour out into our students each and every day. I am also in a unique position of being a parent to current STEM students. My boys, Justin, a rising 5th grader, and Lucas, a rising 3rd grader, attend Patriots Elementary. Neither of them are classified AIG, but both of them soar and love their school. I hear their stories of STEM Lab, and their problem-based activities, and I hear the passion that both of them have for learning. We need that at Griffin. We need programs that students will be passionate about. I've been asked numerous times what my plan is for Justin after next year, and my answer is simple. I'm bringing him to Griffin. And if you ask him, his answer is simple. He's coming to Griffin. And then I'm asked, well, what if Griffin's not a STEM school? And my answer is the same. I'm bringing him to Griffin. And I asked Justin, and his answer was the same. I want to be in STEM, but more importantly, I want to go with you to Griffin. And it's a very clear and easy decision for me. The world is diverse and full of different types of people, and my boys need to learn how to work with students who aren't just like them. Most importantly, I'm bringing him to Griffin because of the teachers. If you were to spend a week in our classes, you would see how the lines start to blur between the socioeconomic and academic differences. We embrace and love all students and encourage that same feeling for our students. I believe wholeheartedly that the teachers at Griffin can teach, grow, and nurture every child that walks through that door. By choosing to make C.C. Griffin a neighborhood STEM school and redistributing students between Freeze and Griffin, no one loses and many more win. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flieger. Next is Mr. Jonathan Anderson, and Mr. Anderson will be speaking on STEM IB proposal.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Anderson, and I'm a teacher at Concord Middle School, 19-year veteran teacher, actually 22-year veteran teacher. Recently, the staff at Concord Middle School was informed of the school board's plan to transform Concord Middle from a traditional school to an international baccalaureate school. When I heard this news, I was excited. In my experience, this was a fantastic idea. For many years before I came to Concord, I was employed at a school very much like Concord in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, named Ranson Middle IB. Like Concord in Charlotte, the demographic was strikingly similar. The reason that I think that this shift is such a great idea for Concord is because I've seen firsthand what kind of transformation occurred at Ranson. We went from a traditional school to an international baccalaureate school. I'm encouraged because I feel that the effect at Concord should be similar. In the case of Ranson, I discovered firsthand that an international baccalaureate school is not a school for gifted students, but for everybody with different kinds of gifts. When the transformation to IB occurred at Ranson, we kept the same population of students, but exposed them to a richer, more diverse curriculum, centered on a global train of thought for students living in the Beatties Ford neighborhood in Charlotte that never saw outside of the neighborhood. It changed their world and expanded their minds. It caused many of my former students to pursue things that they may have never had done had they graduated from a traditional school. Most now attend or have already graduated from college. For some, they were the first for their families to do so. Many have started their own business, traveled internationally, or become strong activists in their community. Through a rigorous course of study, these students become more widely aware and subsequently become world changers. It is truly amazing what this kind of approach can do. I understand that recently you have received quite a bit of feedback from the J.M. Freeze parents regarding what they think about moving the program. I would like to encourage those parents that are crying so loudly to come to Concord and look around. Look at the level of care and concern that teachers have for their students. Look at the level of dedication our students have to improving themselves. Look at the patience and diligence with which each student is addressed by our administrators. This is fertile soil for a global program such as IB to take hold. I would challenge each parent to come see for themselves, and then I would challenge them to step up. Make a difference at Concord to become a mentor. Make a difference at Concord by donating your time. Make a difference at Concord by sponsoring a child that needs it. Come to a place where you can make a real difference in your future of your county. I have seen firsthand what a difference IB can make in a school like Concord. Come help make this transformation a reality.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Peter Bynum, if you'd come forward, and he's going to speak on the IB program.
My name is Peter Bynum. I'm a local pastor here in Concord. We are relatively new to the Cabarrus County school system. We've been here for less than 2 years. We have two children who are both in the public school system here. One is a rising ninth grader who will go to Concord High. She has been at J.N. Freeze in the IB program, and we're very delighted, actually, with the education she got there. We have a rising fifth grader who we would like to go into the IB track. I had planned to talk a little bit about IB, and I do want to talk about IB, but I think I need to change a little bit about what I've said. As a new parent here, I don't understand the resentment and the anger and the bitterness that seems to have been directed at this school that you created, and that it's one of the top public middle schools in the entire state. And I came from Eastern North Carolina, where they have an IB program that is struggling to survive, and you have one that's thriving here. And we didn't choose a school; we chose a program. We wanted the IB program for our daughter, and it's been wonderful. But that being said, I just think don't dismantle something. I think the idea that IB is great, so let's make everybody IB. I'm a pastor of a relatively affluent church, and I formerly pastored a relatively affluent church, and I was constantly approached by people that said, "Hey, don't you want to put your kids in private school?" And I never did, because I'm a product of the North Carolina public school system and its vast diversity. I want my children to be in a place of diversity. Anyone who points a finger at Jay and Freeze and says it's elitist and that it's not, that is the full spectrum of the kingdom of God in Jay and Freeze. I mean, you have black kids, you have Asian kids, you have white kids, and they love each other, and they're doing great. So please don't just say, we just arrived here, all of a sudden we found this wonderful school, and now we are somehow elitist and uninformed, and we want a private school for our children. It's just not true. But please don't make the mistake. One last comment. IB is not just something that you can move around on the chessboard. There is a global group that will certify or not certify. They have expectations for teachers. They have some expectations for students. 28 students made it all the way through the pipeline at Concord High. Not every kid can do it. And I believe in everyone getting a free opportunity, but please don't dilute the program in hopes that something will happen just by simply calling it IB. Please call the IB International Group and ask them, is the plan that you are proposing going to work? And will you continue to approve it? Because the biggest tragedy would be if you fail the students who have chosen that pipeline, and 3 years down the road, the whole IB designation is pulled from this county, and you've really left those little kids hanging. Just preserve that. I don't care where the IB program is. I don't care what school it is. Just preserve its integrity and keep it as good as it's been. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bynum. Next is Shannon Leader, and she's going to be talking about the Jay and Freeze plan.
Thank you, board members. Honestly, I'm waiting for Nancy Pelosi to come out the side door and say, just pass it and we'll read it later. I feel like this has been a train going 60 miles an hour and 2 plans in 4 weeks. It needs to slow down. This is going way too fast. Cabarrus County has a wonderful problem. It's a school that has exceeded expectations. Jay and Freeze is ranked 5th out of 134 area middle schools. Now, most school systems would say this is something to celebrate, but our administration seems to treat Jay and Freeze like it's some kind of inconvenience. Most school systems would brag about having such a high-performing school, but our administration seems to be apologetic and ashamed of Jay and Freeze's successes. This would be like a music teacher who has a highly talented violinist who can go on to be world-renowned soloist, but instead of promoting his successes and using his success to motivate and encourage her other students, she asks that violinist to sit in a corner and do his scales over and over and sit and watch other students learn to play the violin. Or could you imagine Michelangelo being told to destroy the statue of David because it was too good and it made all the other artists look bad? Well, that's what's happening here. History and common sense would both judge these examples as insane, but yet the same concept is happening to Jay and Freeze. History is being made. There are many people watching. And this rush to make enormous decisions, again, I'm going to say, feels like a train. Are you going around a curve or is there a wall in front of you? Let's get substantiated data. Let's base it on facts, not projections. Properly vet the data. Gather community input. Yes, there are many parents here tonight, but there are thousands more who aren't. Not everyone can be here at a 6 o'clock meeting. Single moms, working people, childcare problems. We are not the majority. You have not addressed the majority of parents who are involved. Thousands of parents aren't here. When are they going to be involved? Take the emotion out of the equation, and you will agree that this topic will affect thousands of students. These decisions should be made slowly and thoroughly. You will also agree that you have a wonderful problem, and it's called Jay and Freeze. It should be celebrated and replicated, but not decimated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leader. Mr. Joel Johns, if you'll come forward, please. And Mr. Johns will be speaking about the three-year choice plan.
Good evening, board members. I could not have had a better lead-in because I'm here to talk about data, numbers. I'm the logical engineer guy. What I want to show you tonight is your section of what if nothing happens. It's concerning to me because the numbers don't work. You have 4 key points that if we do nothing here, the world's going to implode, but those 4 issues are not addressed. The first one is a STEM waiting list will continue to grow. In 2017, PLC will remain and Jay and Freeze will bring in 400 neighborhood kids. That leaves 475 seats of STEM magnet at Jay and Freeze. From your slide, the pipeline student slide, you show 152 7th graders and 122 8th graders. That leaves just 201 seats for 6th graders and the entire waiting list, which is currently 236. Of course, some of those students will go to CC Griffin and some will go to Northwest, but I promise you, from those numbers, you still have a wait list in year 1. So that issue has not been addressed. IB, you're going to take 200 students, put them at Concord Middle for a total of 1,027, which is over the capacity of 1,008. At Winkler, you're going to add 200 and make it 1,151 with a capacity of 1,132. So both the IB schools are now full. So all we're doing is playing a shell game and moving kids around, and we still have wait lists. We haven't addressed the problem. The whole issue of if we don't expand STEM, the pipeline students will go in the lottery. That one's, I almost laugh when I read that. The slide states there are 404 STEM students. That accounts for every single 6th grader from the 4 STEM elementary schools. This year, Patriots had 178 5th graders. Well, less than 60 went on to Jay and Freeze. So these numbers are way off. You're accounting for 100%, and that's not reality. Coltrane Webb does around 80%, and we don't know what Beverly Hills and R. Brown will do, but their numbers are really little, so 80%, 100% is not a big swing. So really, you're looking at closer to 200 students, not 404, and that doesn't require a lottery. IB, I don't know the numbers there, but I feel pretty good they're not at 100% either. The capacity, I bring this up to y'all constantly. I brought it up Thursday night. It's a concern. You talk about capping. It's not addressed. It's going to hit the numbers you say you have to cap at, and then I hear, oh, it's okay, they can go over a little bit. Well, do we have to cap? If not, take it off your scare list of if we do nothing. Otherwise, you got to address the capping issue. And I see I'm almost at my time, so I will skip the last one because I don't know. I don't have the answers to Central Cabarrus High School. I was going to, how many seats are there? How many are on the waiting list? How many seats are you open at Northwest? They aren't in the plan. You don't have this data there to show us what's going on now and what's going to happen. Is it fixed or not? So I really hope that the board members will press the district and get these numbers and get this resolved and push out this vote until all these numbers actually work and you resolve the issues that are at hand and we have a plan that works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Next up is Mr. Kevin Masalek, and he will be speaking about the school choice plan.
Well, it's a lot different standing on this side of the podium than it was standing on that side of the podium, let me tell you. Good evening, board members and Dr. Van Hukelum. Thank you for the opportunity to come back. I've got to change what I was going to address just a little bit because of some of the things that have been insinuated tonight. I am one of the parents that started the CCS STEM Parents website, one of the parents. I assure you, I am not a racist. I am not an elitist. The people that I work with back there are not those things either. My children attend Coltrane Webb STEM School, a Title I school with an incredibly diverse population. We aren't racist. Everybody in this room tonight wants the same thing. If you're sitting over here to my left, you're sitting behind me, you're sitting in front of me. We want the same thing. We want to build the best magnet program in the state of North Carolina. We got to stop all this back and forth fighting. Let's work together. That's all we're asking for. For the district, for the board members, for parents, for teachers to work together, come up with a plan that works for everybody. I've gone through a lot of my time already. I wanted to address a couple of issues tonight. Specifically, one of them was the idea that this is going to dilute the program, and I know the district doesn't necessarily believe in that, so I kind of wanted to address that and why we're saying that. My daughter Samantha, she's 10 years old, she's a rising 5th grader. She, under this plan in 2017, she would attend C.C. Griffin. We live in the Mills at Rocky River, right beside C.C. Griffin. C.C. Griffin's a wonderful school. We have absolutely nothing against C.C. Griffin, its teachers, its administrators. I'm sure they would do a wonderful job educating my daughter. The issue is they don't have experience teaching STEM. There's 2 teachers, I believe, there that may have taught STEM before. I'm not sure on that number. Teaching STEM comes with experience. We even learned Thursday there's not going to be full-time coordinators at each STEM school. Who's going to mentor these teachers? The training program that's going to be in place for these teachers doesn't give them experience. What if we looked at doing a stopgap at Jay and Freeze? If we put in some temporary buildings, if we moved out the PLC, we open those classrooms up to teachers that want to teach STEMs district-wide. Let them come in and teach STEM there, where there's mentors that can help them along, teach them PBL, so that when my daughter gets there, who has never had any other type of learning besides PBL, is ready to be taught PBL lessons. The second thing I wanted to approach was this Forced 400 that wants to go into Jay and Freeze. I did my graduate studies in multiculturalism. I applaud the want to reach out to underrepresented kids. It's something that has to happen. But you can't force them. When the government tries to speak for the underrepresented, they silence them. Let's go speak with the underrepresented. Let's reach out to them. Let's talk to them. Let's see what they want to do. The last thing I wanted to say tonight is this is obviously a huge issue. There's 4 board members that are going to be up for election this year. What I want to ask you to do is to delay the vote until we know that all board members are going to be here, so we can see how they vote, because that may change the way we vote in November. So if you could postpone it till all 7 board members are present, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noslek. Next is Dr. Shannon McAteer. Thank you, sir. And you're going to be speaking on the school choice plan as well, sir.
I am. So my name is Shannon McAteer, and my background is my PhD is in public policy. And I only mention that because that's the lens I'm looking through in the context in which I'm speaking. I also, more importantly, have 2 boys that are in the system. I have a kindergartner next year and a 2nd grader next year at Coltrane Webb. So I'm a stakeholder in this as well. I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak, but also for all the hard work that's put into this. I think that the district, the board, the parents on both sides of this issue all have the best intentions of the kids. So thank you for all the hard work. The thing I want to say, I mentioned public policy is my doctoral work. Public policy is really just problem solving, right? Just trying to solve a problem that exists. The issue is before we solve a problem, we have to fully understand the problem. And I don't think we understand this problem. As I listen to both sides of this room tonight and over the past several weeks, I mean, this is a hot topic. We don't understand it yet. And I think, and what that means to me is we have to slow down to fully understand it. And I think part of the solution is, much like in public policy issues at all levels, is we have to have stakeholder involvement. You know, I love the fact that we have a teacher liaison here. Why don't we have a parent liaison here? And why don't we have parents involved at all levels into this? given input, and so we can understand the problem. And that's all I have to say about that. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Dr. McAteer. Next up is Ms. Shelley Houston, and Ms. Houston's going to speak about options for the 3-year proposal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here. I'm here again for my kids. I have a rising 5th grader and 7th grader, but I'm here this time in a little different light. I'm here for our county. I'm sensitive to the needs of our county. I spend my day serving all children in our county. I'm a pediatrician. My practice is over 50% Medicaid. I know the needs of our county. I'm aware of our growth and our needs. I love all of my children. I have always supported North Carolina Public School. I'm a product of North Carolina Public School. I entered the lottery with my children and my daughter, who was a kindergartner at Coltrane Webb. I was criticized for this. I was asked, why are you going to be a guinea pig? Why are you doing this? Coltrane Webb was anything but perfect. We have struggled. We have come a long way. I know what it's like to be a part of a program from the ground up. I'm not afraid of that. I've actually had the opportunity since the last meeting to talk with my friends and my neighbors who don't go to Coltrane Webb, who don't go to J.M. Freeze. They are my friends and my neighbors who don't go to these schools, and we talk. And I'm so glad we talk. We brainstormed. I want to present an alternative proposal to you. I propose that the county consider duplicating a dual program at Concord Middle School. Develop a sister school, so to speak, for J.M. Freeze. Offer both programs. This plan would serve 3 smaller elementary schools, including Beverly Hills, Coltrane Webb, and R. Brown McAllister, all being STEM. They add up to the approximate size of Irvin Elementary, all being IB. This would increase the engagement of the parents in this region. It would draw families closer together, draw them back to their neighborhoods. It would eliminate our wait list. It would fill up the spots at Concord Middle. It would increase student opportunities. It would increase teacher choice. It would allow consistency and the chance for that community to stay together a little bit longer and build a stronger community. Those kids could stay together for at least K through 8 and more decisions to come. My second focus for being here tonight is that if we move forward, when we move forward, not if, because I know we will. Since the 1970s, the body of research shows that there are concerns for racial and ethnic minority students. And those concerns are my concerns. And they are that at the college level, half of those students will drop out or change their major from a STEM subject. So you and I know all the things that go into that and all the risk factors for that. That's not what the purpose is. My purpose is to focus on the initiative to change that. I want to start them out from the beginning stronger. I want to do the things that are evidence-based. The U.S. Department of Education has given grants all over the country to provide pre-engineering and pre-mathematic programs to get these kids on the right track at the beginning, to give them self-efficacy. Let them know they can do it. But we can't create this overnight, and I know this. The summer bridge programs are highly important. We need to get these families engaged before they start in the fall. We need to ask them, what are their concerns? What do they think they cannot do? What are they interested in? What are their fears? Family engagement, parental involvement is key. I don't have all the answers. I know you all have so many pressures that I don't understand. But at the grassroots level, this is very important to me as a parent, as a pediatrician, as a community member. And we need more time. We need more time to explore all of these options. I want to grow the STEM and the IB program. I want them both to be extremely solid, and we need more time to explore these options. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Houston. Next is Mr. David James, and Mr. James is going to speak on school choice.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is David James, and I'm a 7th grade teacher at Harold Winkler Middle School. I am here to voice my opinion on the implementation of the school choice plan. I see the issue being on two different fronts. Number one, there's a large number of elementary age students that have the opportunity to continue their magnet school program at the middle school level, with a limited number of magnet school seats available. I teach social studies, so I'm not very good with these numbers and percentages, but as stated by people a lot smarter than myself, 43% of those elementary students will not be guaranteed a seat at Jan Fries Magnet Middle School. I'm not here to blame you. I'm not here to blame the cabinet, but this is a problem, and you've been offered a solution. Problem number two, with the creation of Jan Fries Magnet School program in 2011, a slow but steady change has occurred throughout the middle schools in Cabarrus County. Concord Middle, C.C. Griffin Middle, Northwest Cabarrus Middle, and Winkler Middle School continuously lose high-performing students who are being lured to Jan Fries Magnet School for a, quote, better educational experience. The loss of these students in the school building has a ripple effect as student demographics change, test scores decline, and teachers' jobs are put on notice. Winkler Middle School opened in 2011 with over 1,000 students, a free reduced lunch population of just 44%. Winkler Middle School now houses less than 900 students and a free reduced population of 56%, an increase of 12% in just 5 years. I'm not here to blame anyone, but a solution has been presented. As you know, 150 of your teachers are meeting this week to write, revise, and improve curriculum for all these teachers in Cabarrus County schools. Many of them are sitting in this building today. Friday morning, we were asked to collaborate and discuss what we want a successful student experience to look like. I walked around today, and on 15 of the 15 papers was one word: diverse. I laughed at the time, but one of my group members said, if you hang out with dogs all day, work, play, sleep, what happened when the cat walks by? We need to teach children to work, sleep, and play and be around children that don't act, learn, and look like them. How do we expect students to be ready for the real world when we have a, quote, protective bubble where students do not collaborate, explore, and problem solve with others of different academic abilities? Finally, the notion that implementing the STEM or IB framework will not be successful at other middle schools is offensive. The notion that teachers will not work tirelessly at their school to help them this be successful is offensive. The notion that these students in these buildings are not gifted enough to learn through the STEM or IB lens is offensive. As Dr. Van Hoekelen noted, STEM and IB is a framework. It's a lens of teaching. I make it rigorous. I make it challenging. That student rises to the occasion, and these schools continue to thrive. I applaud Dr. Louder and his cabinet for recognizing the issues presented and having the insight and courage to look out for all students in Cabarrus County schools. I ask that you have the courage and wisdom to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Next is Ms. Jennifer Braley, and she will be speaking about the 3-year plan.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Jennifer Braley. My son Carter just completed his 8th grade year at Concord Middle School. My middle son, John Christian, just completed his 4th grade year at R. Brown McAllister, and next year I will have a kindergartner, my daughter Kate, at R. Brown McAllister. I have a unique point of view when talking about Concord Middle. It is because I have worn 3 different hats in that building. I taught at Concord for almost 10 years, from 1996 to 2005. I have just completed my first 3 years as a parent of a middle schooler at Concord Middle. And I have also served as the PTSO co-president at Concord Middle for the last 2 years. What I remember is a school that at one time thrived in neighborhoods, celebrated in end-of-year growth, and completely embraced the diversity that made it uniquely Concord. Unfortunately, what I see now is a school that has taken one for the team too many times. There has been a great fallout from creating a closed magnet middle school that was unforeseen. When the closed magnet school was created, the students from that neighborhood were redistricted to Concord Middle and C.C. Griffin. By creating a magnet school, in essence, a double non-magnet school was created. 2 of them. As popularity grew from learning through STEM and IB teaching, more and more families chose to vacate their neighborhood schools, some even leaving in the 2nd and 3rd grades to ensure a coveted spot at Freeze without having to rely on the lottery. This mass exodus is what I would like to address this evening. We have heard from many vocal parents how this change will adversely affect their magnet student. I would like to explain how this change several years ago has adversely impacted our school and continues to do so. Parent involvement. The mass exodus not only took solid academic students, but their parents also left with them. These are the parents who have flexible schedules to volunteer at our schools. These are the parents who can write a check for the full amount of a field trip. These are the parents who have the time and resources to show up and love on school staff. Every school depends on a core group of parents who can speak for the rest. It's not that the others choose not to speak or show up. It's that they can't speak or show up. There are transportation issues, no childcare, inflexible work hours, or that they don't know how to best advocate for their children. These are the things that prevent them from being involved. But do not confuse the absence of their presence for the absence of wanting the very best for their kids, just as we all do. There is no extra money. Our PTSO has worked together to find the best way to raise funds for the school. School-wide fundraisers do not work at a school with 73% poverty. We have found some creative ways to raise money, $1 to $2 at a time, which has limited what we can do for field trip scholarships, cultural activities, and teacher appreciation. Athletic spots are taken by students who don't attend our school. There are times when athletics is the motivator for education. A well-spoken coach is often the best mentor and advisor to any teenager who can't see beyond the next 3 years. Students who are part of this family of Concord Middle lose athletic positions to students who have no buy-in to our school. The staff of their school doesn't ride with them to Concord Middle and work the gate, concessions, or coach after a long day of teaching. We also have hard-to-fill teaching positions. How do we attract top qualified candidates when they can go across town and teach without the additional paperwork, planning, and duties for the exact same amount of money? I've been to every meeting and listened to several board members make comments about protecting the staff at Freeze. Who is protecting the staff at Concord Middle? I used to tell 6th graders and parents entering Concord Middle for the first time that they would get out of their middle school experience exactly what they put into it. We have the opportunity to enhance that experience for all Cabarrus County students. My best friend likes to use the phrase, "You don't know what you don't know." It is my hope that you now know how the students at the other schools are being impacted and that they deserve the same opportunities. Dr. Louder and his staff are strong common sense leaders. Many of you witnessed the overwhelming community support for this plan last Thursday. I urge you to do what's best for all kids versus doing what is best for some kids. Cabarrus County Schools is a very special place. It's a very special place to me. I believe that what we have here, you can't find it at a charter school, and you can't buy it at a private school. I support all Cabarrus County schools, and so for that reason, tonight I come before you as a Minor, a Griffin, a patriot, a maverick, a tiger, a titan, a wolf, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, even a knight.
Thank you, Ms. Braley. Mr. William Jefferson wants to speak about the IB program and the impact it's given certain requirements. Oh, okay. Next will be Ms. Karen Holler, and she will be an advocate for the choice plan.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Van Hoeklam, and cabinet members. My name is Karen Holler, and I'm the MTSS coach at Winkler Middle School. As you know, Jay and Freeze opened as a magnet school in 2011, the same year Winkler opened as a brand new school with a capacity of 1,200 students. When I first came to Winkler as a 6th grade teacher in 2012, we had approximately 1,000 enrolled with a free and reduced lunch rate of around 40%. Over the past 3 years, with the expansion of Freeze, our enrollment has declined and our free and reduced lunch rate has continued to rise. At the end of this school year, we had 915 students enrolled with a free and reduced lunch rate of 56%. Next year, we're slated to have about 860 students with an ever-increasing free reduced lunch rate. Because of our decrease in enrollment, we're losing 2 core teaching positions for next year. This is the first year since I've been there that we're losing staff that truly wants to remain at Winkler Middle. Additionally, due to the addition of the IB program at Weddington Hills, students in the Winkler attendance zone are electing to attend Freeze rather than their neighborhood school. This has significantly reduced our overall numbers as well as our number of AIG students. Next year, we will have over 300 empty seats at Winkler. We do not feel this is an effective use of space in such a warm and beautiful building. We've been investigating implementing the IB program at Winkler and think it is a natural progression for students to funnel from Weddington Hills to Winkler to the new high school, which would also be IB. The same also makes sense for Irvin, Concord Middle, and Concord High School. Last month, Michael Williams, our assistant principal, and Mark Pompey, one of our 6th grade science teachers, visited a neighborhood magnet school in Winston-Salem and were very impressed with how it was structured to meet the needs of all students while maintaining the rigor and the IB concept. Differentiated pathways are implemented that provide students of all abilities courses that are designed with the IB principles and allow for students to continue on the IB track in high school or stay on a standard high school pathway if they choose so. Students who are on the high school IB pathway take accelerated courses through middle school with the goal of taking courses in the 8th grade for high school credit. The middle school choice plan is in the best interest of all students in the district and we feel is the best use of overall resources. Regardless of a child's socioeconomic background or family situation, it provides every Winkler student an opportunity to experience an IB education. Students who never before would have thought to apply to Jay and Freeze can now have a chance to become an IB scholar in the future. The teachers and staff at Winkler are committed to completing the training necessary to implement interdisciplinary instruction that will enable our students to become collaborators, problem solvers, and critical thinkers. We want all children to be afforded this opportunity. The Winkler school community, including our PTSO, supports this plan, and we hope that you as school board members will do so as well. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Holler. Next is Mr. Kevin Morgan, and he will speak on the school choice plan.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Again, my name is Kevin Morgan. I'm representing myself, my wife Kristen, our son and daughter. Have a rising 8th grader at Concord Middle, rising 3rd grader at R. Brown McAllister. I'm here to very strongly advocate for the school choice plan. What I'm not here to do is to defame or degrade the passion and advocacy of any of the particular constituencies aligned to any of the specific schools here. In fact, I actually applaud that passion and hope that we can instill and breed that same type of engagement and passion within the families and communities aligned to all of our community schools. I know that is a stated goal of our strategic plan for the Cabarrus County school system. But I do want to share some facts. In versus the passion that we've heard here tonight around individual schools, around our individual students, I feel that the same, but this is going up a level, I think, more from a macro perspective, and this is really what we're dealing with is supply and demand here, the issue. Here's some facts about the tremendous population growth that our county has experienced over the past 6 years and some of the growth that we know is going to still come. And there's obviously the benefits of that growth. We've experienced that individually, but we know there is tremendous strain on the infrastructure that comes from that, and not at the least the infrastructure being our public school system. In 2015, the Charlotte MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Area, which Cabarrus is part of, we've got 12 counties, it was the 8th fastest growing MSA in the country. There are 12 counties in this Charlotte MSA. Cabarrus County is the 5th largest in the Charlotte MSA and had the 5th fastest growing growth rate. In 2010, we had a population total in Cabarrus County, 178,000 people, and as of 2015, it stands at 197,000, projected to grow to 210,000 by 2020. There are 100 counties in North Carolina. Cabarrus County is one of 12 counties in the entire state projected to grow faster than 18% in that time period of 2010 to 2020. Again, we've got a tremendous resource issue that we're going to be facing. If we drop this down to the city level, Harrisburg is the 2nd fastest growing city in the entire Charlotte MSA. 22% growth since 2010. Concord is the 2nd largest city in the Charlotte MSA, only behind Charlotte itself, and it's grown 8% since 2010. So this growth is going to continue. And in previous school choice presentations, we've heard the number, we've kind of budgeting around 1,000 students per year that we're going to have to plan for. If that is the right number, and I think that number is probably conservative, that's 15% growth rate over the 31,000 students we're trying to serve today in the next 5 years. Again, tremendous strain. So does this school choice plan address all of the challenges that we face today and those to come over the next 3 to 5 years? Absolutely not. Does it start us down the road to ensuring the best and broadest path to providing a diverse and challenging learning curriculum for the students we serve today? Yes, it does. Does it better leverage the current underutilized resources that we've just heard talked about here at Winkler and many other schools? We've got empty seats, but then we've got pressure on the county lines where we've got burgeoning schools about to pop. Does it help us better leverage those resources? Yes, it does. So let me close by challenging you to rely on the facts when you make your final decision on the school choice plan, because 31,000 students and many more to come are dependent upon it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Next is Ms. Amy Miller, and she wants to speak about the school choice plan.
Good evening. I want to thank you first, like so many others, just for allowing everybody to have a voice and just to be heard. I really do appreciate that. And I also want to start off by saying that I am obviously supporting CC Griffin, and I'm going to talk about CC Griffin because it's what I know. It's where I know. I've been there for 13 years. I have chosen to be there for 13 years. It's the only school I have ever worked at in my teaching career. So it's what I know. So I'm just going to talk about that. I'm certainly not going to stand up here and try to criticize or belittle any other school. I think that we do have a problem, and it is a great problem to have. And I, for one, want to say that I'm certainly not going to bash Jay and Freeze because obviously they're doing something right. I think that part of what we want at CC Griffin, we just want to have a piece of that. That's all. So we just, we want to learn. We want them to show us what they've been doing, and we want to kind of follow along. So I do want to talk about a couple things that people won't hear about CC Griffin, and part of that is that actually we have been lucky enough to be part of a grant program that has given some of our students the opportunity to participate in something called Aspire, and we use camp invention materials. Then they actually follow along with STEM concepts, and I was lucky enough to be able to participate in this over the summer, and it was wonderful to see what the kids got to do, the materials they had, the things they created, what they marketed, the ideas they had to solve real world problems. It was just amazing. And so that kind of was the first time last summer that kind of sparked something to me like, wow, this would be great if they could just have this all the time. I mean, it was really, really cool to watch them. And I also wanted to make sure people knew that, students at CC Griffin are no stranger to inquiry-based instruction. Our math and science classes are using that. In fact, we've had several staff members do presentations and trainings at the district, state, and last year at the national level. So we do have people that do have some experience. And even though most of the staff may not, we are certainly willing to learn. Hopefully we'll receive the same training as that Jay and Freeze and other schools have gotten, and we're really excited. I think we're another school that has kind of had many highs in achievements, and kind of with the Hickory Ridge opening, and then with Jay and Freeze becoming a magnet, has kind of experienced some lows again. So we're a flexible staff, we're a caring staff. We love everybody who comes through the door. We welcome everybody. We just want everybody to have the opportunity to get the best education that they can, whether it's at Griffin or wherever it is. But we just, I don't know, just if your child is I say lucky enough to come to Griffin, we welcome you. We want all students to be the best they can be. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Next is Ms. Jennifer Laidley. I'm sure I didn't pronounce it correct.
Hi, I have a upcoming 10th grader who has been in the IB program since 6th grade at Jane Freeze. And my biggest concern with this whole thing is standards. It's the standard that my daughter and her very close-knit community that she developed while at Freeze work every day, even during the summer, to maintain. You have said that the IB program is not a rigorous curriculum, and I about fell out of my seat when you said that, because I'm telling you, she, every day, after sports, because we drove her to Concord every day for volleyball for 2 years straight, she stays up till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and all weekend long to maintain the standards that Jay and Freeze in Concord High School has set for IB students. My concern is if everybody is just placed into the IB program, not every child is going to be willing to do that. So what is it going to do to the standards that have been placed? And as far as the teachers at Jay and Freeze who taught my daughter, what is going to happen to them? Will they be invited to Concord to help train some of the staff to keep those standards going? Because once these kids hit the 11th and 12th grade year of the IB program, if they're not held to that standard the whole way through, they're going to drop out of of the program, and then what? They don't get the diploma, the IB diploma, and then what is the reason? So, just my perspective. Thank you for having us, and maybe you could have some more parent involvement in making other plans in the future. We would love to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ladle. Ladley. All right, I'm sorry. Thank you, though. Next is Mr. Chris Kuhn, and he's going to be speaking on the school choice plan.
Good evening, board members, administrators, and fellow citizens. Thank you for giving me the chance to be here this evening and to dress up. I haven't worn the suit in more than 3 years, so I'm glad to see it still fits. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife and 2 children. I have a recent 8th grade graduate from J.N. Freeze in the IB program, and I have a rising 5th grader who may be attending R. Brown McAllister next year. And I had some prepared comments, but what I wanted to get, some of what I've heard tonight made me rethink some of that. And what I'm hearing is, I think we all share the same concerns. I think any student who wants in a magnet program should have the ability to get into a magnet program. That's what it's school choice. They choose it. And my opinion is, anytime you bring a neighborhood school into the conversation, doesn't matter what middle school, Hickory Ridge Middle, whatever, you're taking away kind of that choice. You're saying all those you get into a magnet program based on where you live. And again, it's part of that is, what about all the other students around the county? Bethel Elementary, Mount Pleasant. What about those children? The same issues are going to exist there that exist today. They might want into J.N. Freeze, but transportation or whatever other issues exist are going to exist tomorrow, and it's not going to help them. And I guess where I want to go back into my comments here is, I guess I would like to see the step back with this plan, look at it with the new lens, look at it with multiple people involved in the process, mainly parents, teachers from all the impacted schools, administrators, and maybe even students. I mean, I completely understand there's the time constraints that we're looking at. Something needs to happen, but isn't it worth taking a few more months, coming up with a more comprehensive plan that might at least appeal to most everybody? I know I have some ideas I'd like to present. They might not be great, but I'd like to talk them through. I know there are a lot smarter people out there that probably have some great plans too, or great ideas. So maybe with a major initiative like this, wouldn't it make sense to get as many of those ideas and opinions together as possible, and then talk through what might or might not work? If something truly doesn't work, then let's explain how it won't, instead of saying it's just impossible. Sadly, the environment that's been created over the years hasn't really embraced this kind of collaboration where parents are involved up front prior to any kind of initiative rolling out. I'm bringing up standards-based grading again, only because I don't like it, and I hope that we might one day be able to readdress it and get some parent feedback into it. But as an example of where parent feedback wasn't obtained before it was rolled out, there were some meetings afterwards. Some of them weren't well attended by parents, it's sad to say, but feedback was provided. I know, me personally, I expressed I would love the opportunity to provide more feedback and wasn't given that opportunity. And that's where this proposal kind of feels exactly like that. The proposal was made in May. If it hadn't leaked out, the board might have been voting on it this month. And so we're glad that there were concerned parents who spoke up, continue to speak up, and now that hopefully we're going to have a chance to slow down and ask more questions and maybe get some substantive changes made to the program. Imagine how much more impactful this proposal could have been if other impacted parties had been involved, instead of it being a top-down type of proposal. I don't know what the perfect solution is for getting parent feedback. I know there's lots of logistic challenges. You can't have a room full of parents trying to come up with one big consensus plan. I just know you have to try. You have to try something, whether that be board-designated focus groups. I don't know what the answer, but it's time to start having those conversations to see how can parents, teachers get involved up front. Again, this is just, it seems to me, a prime opportunity to start something like that. Get that involvement. Let's relook at this plan, and again, make something that's going to work for the entire county, all of our students. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Coons. Ms. Reimer is providing a little extra break in the action. Ms.
Dr.
Lisa
Technology.
Self, if you could come on down and distract us from that phone.
Quick song. I can sing. Not right. Thank you very much for. We good? My phone will probably go off in a minute. Thank you very much, Board, for your time. I first want to start off to say that I am a daughter of an immigrant who came to this country from South America, and my mom is from Puerto Rico. I'm the first person in my entire family to graduate. I am a product of a family that had been on welfare. I went to college. Still one of the very few in my family that have gone to college. I understand what diversity is. I grew up in New York City. I get diversity. Diversity is Beverly Hills, Coltrane Webb, and R. Brown McAllister. All of them have 55% free and reduced lunch. We did not create Jane Freeze. We did not create the bubble. You did. The county did. And the diversity in that school already exists and would be further along, except that we never explained the value of a STEM program or an IB program to our neighborhood families. And they finally got it this year, where we're sending both in the IB and at Coltrane Webb, we're sending the largest class of kids that we've ever sent, over 90%. And that's huge, because now these underrepresented children that we keep talking about get it. They love it. They want to go. Your J.N. Freeze would have naturally been the diverse school that you wanted, the diverse school that wasn't there before, because we failed. We as a county failed to educate our 31,000 students worth of parents about these programs and what these programs would do for their kids. I wanted to start off that says, we know these schools are fantastic. I have kids, we know kids that go to all these schools. We're not saying that these teachers are not fantastic. We want the preservation of a pipeline. We have, as we said, school of distinction, K through kindergarten through 12th grade. Imagine having to be someone in an IB program or a STEM program that has to go to 6 different schools. Do you want your kids to go to 6 different schools? How does that impact? Because that's what you're asking these kids. These kids will have to go to 4, 5, or 6 different schools at the end of this program. And how does that break up? What does that do to the program? That's the integrity we're talking about, not the integrities of these teachers, not that we think that Concord High School is a bad school or C.C. Griffin's not a bad school and they can't teach our kids. I think one of the proposal was leave J.N. Freeze to have the IB and move STEM to Concord. We don't care where we go. We just want to go together. And we want everyone to have the same experience that we have. But we didn't create this bottleneck. And this is why we're asking you to slow down. You created a magnet school program, and 2 years later, even though we knew that it was going to grow, we opened up a school that was already going to be crowded. And then we went, oh, it's crowded. We got to close it. It's no longer a magnet school. That's Patriots, right? And our neighborhoods are outpacing our magnet seats. They're growing. This is still a problem. What happens when J.N. Freeze's neighborhood outgrows its seats? We just want you to really look at the future, really look at the growth, and make sure these kids don't have to go to 6 different schools. Make sure they don't have to go to 5 different schools, and they get to be and build a community. We talk about being a school choice and a community. That's all we want is our community. And part of that community is providing this transportation. If you decide later on that you are that this passes and this is what's the best for the entire county, that's fine. But you have children that are impacting. You've got children that you are deciding in the middle years to change them. In the middle years is the hardest times to move these kids. That's what we're asking. We're all middle school. And so you're asking to move in the middle school. Movement in the middle school outside of natural transition will lead to low self-esteem, higher levels of low self-esteem, more bullying, and higher mental health issues. Absolutely fact. Create gaps, create whole plans that are going to save all of these children. All of them. We've never once said we don't want this program to grow. We want it to grow. That's why we've been shouting its praises since day one. We want it to grow right so that in 3 years we're not in the same place, because these schools are full. You know they're full. C.C. Griffin will be at 155% capacity. How are they going to grow? Northwest is at 100% capacity. How are you going to grow that? You got 900 seats and you got 4,000 kids you're trying to shove into them. It doesn't. We just want a comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Self. Next up is Mr. Michael Peterson, and Mr. Peterson is going to speak about school choice.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this important issue. I've been an educator at various levels here in Cabarrus County since 1999. I've been part of a team opening 2 new schools, and I've seen how the district has had to adapt because of the population increase here in this area. But I come here tonight speaking as a parent. I have 2 young girls that are now entering 6th and 9th grade. I feel lucky to have had the opportunity to attend such a well-run school system. There have been many, many differences of opinions throughout the years, and Cabarrus County Schools has always had open forums and responds well to increases in demands and societal changes, as well as public opinions. The end result is what is best for all the students attending the Cabarrus County school system. My oldest child will be attending high school next year. As a 5th grader at Irvin, she was extremely excited when the Jay and Freeze staff came and to her school promoting the STEM education. She planned the calendar of events, ensuring my family and I will attend all the open houses. She did all the research about what STEM actually was. At the end of attending the tour of the school, she asked her staff her various previously prepared questions. And she told me on the way home in the car, Jay and Freeze is for me. That's the place where I want to be. She was so excited about this learning environment, and then she did some research about the job market and what was looking for people that had access to this pathway. She had the grades, completed all of the necessary paperwork and the essay herself. Unfortunately, she did not get in because of the lottery system. She was, and I was disappointed. As we spoke about how you need to persevere through life's obstacles, she understood and has done very well in a traditional middle school with me at Winkler Middle. My youngest daughter has just completed her first year at Cultural Web STEM Elementary. I transferred her there from Irvin to ensure that she had a STEM pathway into Freeze. She has been very successful at Coltrane and is extremely excited to continue with this type of instruction at Freeze. She loves math and science and is always interested in how things works, and ask me the question why all the time. I believe this opportunity has allowed my little one to shine, and I'm excited about her future. I'm here tonight to ask the board to just think about the 32,000 students that we have in our system when voting on this adjustment. I believe we need to give all of our students an opportunity to better themselves, whether it's an IB model, a STEM model, Spanish immersion. We're here to serve all of our students. Education is the key to our future, and as a great Ali once said, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next is Ms. Stephanie Knoffel, and she will be talking about the 3-year proposed plan. I guess Ms. Stephanie Knoffel? Okay. All right. Then Ms. Ann Platts, and she's going to talk about the school choice.
Good evening. Thanks again for the opportunity to allow parents and teachers, and I do want to acknowledge it is very obvious that we have some amazing, passionate teachers in Cabarrus County. And that being said, I feel like I'm at this point being redundant of a lot of information that has already been shared and points of view. I am incredibly proud that we do have such a passionate amount of parents and teachers that are here this evening to share their thoughts, views, and perspectives. But at the end of the day, this still is, as has already been said 20 plus times, about these children. I have 3 children. I do have 2 in Freeze and 1 that is going into Weddington Hills next year from Boger. I want to make it very clear that Freeze has never excluded or said that nobody has been welcome into that community, in that learning environment for the past 5 years that the district has created. It is a model. It is something that can be viewed to replicate in other learning environments in schools. We have never said that Freeze is undiverse. It is an incredibly diverse environment. When you proctor at that school, 10 out of 24 children in most of those classrooms are white. So, this has been an option for 5 years that have been out there for many parents. And I understand the need to share the magnet program with these amazing teachers, that all of them can teach in a magnet environment. But we need to ensure that, yes, it is shared with all of the children that do not currently have access, but also what about the children that are currently in the magnet programs? We have to ensure that they get the academic fidelity that this district has started 5 years ago. I think that's about it. Let me check my scribble notes. The last thing is, I just want to go back to transportation. I know I'm running out of time, but hub stops don't work for many parents, and I think considering grandfathering students, as far as the hub stops, it is just a really critical point that needs to be considered. I mean, it's just, you can't expect that this program will work and be shared among the children that don't have access without the hub stops. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Platts. Next is Michelle Topfer, and she will be speaking about the STEM program.
Well, my head is swimming. I'm sure yours is too. My name is Michelle Topfer. I've been to every meeting about this. I went to the forum. I was really discouraged from the lack of teachers that were present, and I'm very glad to see that there are so many teachers finally present and being able to weigh their opinions in on it. My child goes to J.N. Freeze. I'm not an elitist. My husband's an electrician. We survive on less than the average teacher salary, a family of 4. And I am a substitute teacher. I have been in Concord Middle. I have been in C.C. Griffin. I have been in J.N. Freeze. I think when you walk down the hallway of J.N. Freeze, there's a real noticeable difference from the other middle schools. When I substitute, there's always a kid that's trying to test me as a substitute to see what they can get away with. When I go to J.N. Freeze, I don't get that. It's the only school I don't get that at. The IB program, those classrooms are an hour and a half long, and those kids sit there in their seats and do their work. And I haven't seen that at any of the other middle schools. And I don't know really what the difference is, and maybe it's the application process, and maybe that it's 60% AIG. But there's definitely a real magic there that needs to be examined. Why is that? Is it really the STEM curriculum, or is it something else that's there, the STEM or IB curriculum? I think for my family, we were definitely looking for something more, and it wouldn't have been a private school no matter how much money we had.
I went to private school growing up, and that's definitely not what I want for my child. That's one of the big things that we like about J.N. Freeze is that when you walk in the door, it's like United Nations in there. There's so many different nationalities represented there. It's incredible. It's a wonderful learning environment. I'm really curious to see if you surveyed people what they would say the difference is with J.N. Freeze and what makes it such a magical and learning environment for these kids, and it really is a protective bubble. And I can't tell you why, but it is. They really have a desire to learn there. Maybe your free and reduced lunch problems really came in when door-to-door service was discontinued at J.N. Freeze and it went to hub stops. Maybe that would be a solution. I know the teachers at C.C. Griffin definitely want more for their school. I know they want to go to one-to-one technology. I think all schools at this point should be at one-to-one technology. And again, maybe that would be a big help. I'm not convinced that changing J.N. Freeze is really the best route to go for these students. I would rather see it replicated, another J.N. Freeze maybe on the other side of the county, maybe opening up transportation. $2 million is a lot of money that could provide one-to-one technology through the entire county. And I know these schools really want more for their kids, and they deserve it, and they all should get it. I just don't know if we need to change J.N. Freeze to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Topfer. Next will be Ms. Allison Hermans, and she will be speaking on the choice plan. And you are the last one.
Oh, I am? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for allowing me and all of these other wonderful people to be here tonight. I've kind of thought a lot about this. I've been at the other meetings. I've really invested myself because of my children, as all of us who are here tonight are doing. And I just want to say I am a parent of 2 Coltrane Webb elementary school kids, and it is a Title I school. And I am not an elitist. I love all the kids at that school. I volunteer there, and I try and make them better because I want them to help my child learn through their cultural aspects of their life. You know, they don't live in a bubble at my house. I have lived in California. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Philadelphia. I grew up in Atlanta. I am not a person who likes to live in a bubble. Being at J.N. Freeze, I feel, is being in an ethnic, diverse background. I am not coming to you because of this diversity problem. I am coming to you because I want you to slow down and take an educated decision for all the kids who really need the rigor and the STEM and the IB education, especially for those that have started in this STEM program, as my son in kindergarten did in the inception of the STEM program, and as my daughter did in kindergarten at Coltrane Webb 2 years later. It seems that the county has kind of come to a consensus, like we're moving in this direction. This plan does seem to work for a lot of people here. And I am also really excited to see the educators here, because I know that my child is going to probably go to one of these schools. I just want you to think, my husband and I have to slow down. Okay. We just want to make sure that this is the best plan for all these children and the families in this county. And it seems to me and my husband that it might be the plan. And we want you to understand, and we want to support this plan, but we can only support it if it really works. And we need the research. We want to make sure that this is evidence-based research, and to come to a conclusion not to uproot 4,000 students or to stop a wait list of 400 students, but we want to make sure if this is based on a budget or if this is based on really the educated choice for these students. Please slow down and allow this decision to be made in an appropriate time frame for all of our families in Cabarrus County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hermans. All right, well, that concludes our session for speaking tonight. Thank you all for coming out and spending your time, sharing your heart with us. And I know each one of our members took notes. Ms. Monroe is trying to capture your information as well. And I know that we'll take it all into consideration as we go forward. Yep. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. So board members, if you'll return here at 8:30, 8:28 or so. Thank you. We are now back from our 10-minute adjournment, maybe 15-minute. We now are moving to the approval of the consent agenda. There's a need for a motion to approve the consent agenda, and I believe Mr. Furr has made the motion to approve it. And who was it? Rob Walter? Oh, all right. Rob Walter made the second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, say aye. 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 Oppose? That motion carries 6-0. Good. That carries us to our next item, item number 9, which is the action agenda. First one is the approval of policies on the first reading. Ms. Lynn Reimer is at this podium. Board members, we discussed the 21-22 and 26-10. I believe 1742 is there to support the role of board members in 21-22. There were no changes to 1742, were there? So it's just there as to help us understand 21-22. So I'll open this one up to further discussion. Mr. Powell?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to remove in 2610, the board attorney like to remove and just revert back to the previous version. Remove the item 3, board attorney shall be responsible for and authorized to address and resolve criminal bail bond and vehicle forfeiture matters in district and superior court. Just revert back. I don't think that's necessary, and it opens up the door to change what we're doing.
Okay. Ms. Carpenter?
I would agree. Excuse me. I would agree because it's unnecessary. I mean, that was just something that they said that was needed for other counties, and what we've been doing for 20 years, and I don't think it's necessary for us. And what we've got going's been doing just fine, and I agree. I think we could do it. Just leave that out. What we need to do. The only other thing, if we wanted to change it to put designee in there, or our designee, that's the only way I would agree. If so, I'm not going to vote for it with it the way it is right now. I can tell you that right now. So that's just my comment.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to share? Well, Vince, you hadn't actually made a motion at this point, had you?
I can. I'm not afraid.
Well, Mr. Harrison said, "Is there a second to that?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't know. I didn't."
I'll second.
We didn't have a motion yet. So
okay, I move to accept, excluding point 3.
All right. So we have a motion to exclude item 3 on 21-22, and Ms. Carpenter has seconded that. Mr. Powell made the motion. All right, board members, any more discussion on this particular item? Mr. Harrison?
Dr. Reimer, how many times does this come before the policy committee, to
policy?
We could probably check the agendas, but I would say at least twice, a minimum of 2 times. But we can check agendas and tell them. Yeah, probably so. And we would also, it's recommended by the state. I mean, that's a recommended PLS update, and then we would obviously defer to Sarah and the committee after that.
But it's not something we have to do. And as Sarah said, it was because other counties had had a problem, not us having a problem.
Yeah. To my knowledge, I haven't received any reports that there have been any challenges here in Cabarrus County. So if you all don't want to adopt this language, that's fine, and should a need arise, it could come before you, and you could revise the policy at that time if needed.
And it's my understanding, we have got, what, the third highest rate or second highest rate for forfeitures in the state of North Carolina? Something like that with what we're doing. So if it's, as the old saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Got you in trouble last time.
Yeah, got me in trouble
All
last
right.
time.
So, board members, if there's any more discussion? If not, I don't see anybody else wanting to talk. Let's vote on it. All in favor of removing item number 3 from the policy 2122, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Then that motion carries 6-0. That moves us on to the board, that was 2610 board attorney. Ms. Monroe.
Mr. Shoemaker, I have a question for our attorney. If this is just a PLS update, then we don't do anything. We just leave the policy as is, correct?
The PLS update, you would leave the policy as is. However, there was also an additional recommendation to the policy when this came before the policy committee, and that's the language we added in paragraph 7 per discussion at policy committee.
Thank you.
Okay.
So in other words, that language is still before the board for its consideration.
Well, my motion said approve it, but
Yeah, did it not?
yes.
You
should-
remove item number 3.
My initial motion did. I don't think the clarifying statements included that, but if we need to revisit it, I'll do the motion again.
No, I think if the original motion stated approve 26,
Does anyone
10
want to-
minus 3, but as presented.
Does anyone want to exclude paragraph 7? We can do it again if so.
No. I believe we're
Thank you for the
okay.
clarification.
I think everybody understood the intent, which was to remove item 3, right? Okay. All right, so that was Board Attorney 2610, Ms. Monroe. Now we're talking about Policy 2122, the role of board members in interacting with the public and schools. I'll open this one up. Pardon? We voted only on one. 2610 with Board Attorney. There was a motion, yes, 6-0, and there was a motion to exclude just item number 3 from that policy and approve it on the first reading. Okay, now we're on 2122. I'll open this one up for discussion. Does anyone have anything to say on 2122 at this point? Okay, I have a motion to accept 2122 as written. Mr. Harrison, do I have a second to that? What? I don't hear a second, so what's the holdup? Okay. Mr. Furr will second that. All right, we now open this for discussion. Any more discussion on this item? Policy 2122?
We're just making sure that this policy is consistent with the 1742?
Well, it basically annotates 1742 as your...
Or is it leaving something out here?
It just says that you would refer the complainant to policy 1742.
Okay, just the language here, or any board member or staff member receiving a complaint should verify that the complaint has been appropriately referred to him or her, and if not, assist the complainant to identify appropriate personnel.
So what do you?
Shouldn't that language also be in the 2122 policy?
Which one are you on, the A?
Yes, somewhere in A.
Rob,
I personally think that the policy committee met when Rob was out in Florida, and the only board member that was there was David Harrison. There was no teacher represented. There was no parent represented. I think that's been my complaint since being on here. That we heard some of that tonight, that parents weren't there and aren't even on the committee. And this is a policy that's by us to govern us, and I think the language is completely inappropriate. It says a lot of things that we will do, and the general statute governs much of our behavior, and if we follow the general statute, then that seems that to me that's enough to work under. But that's probably why the lack of a quick second.
I would like to clarify, there is a teacher on that committee, and that teacher was there, present that day.
I think maybe the minutes were off or something, but.
Well, we were just opening this up for discussion. I wasn't asking for a motion at this point. All right. But, Mr. Walter, I didn't understand what you were asking for.
I'm saying that there's language in the 1742 that's not completely consistent with the 2122, and it probably should be. That's all.
What language is inconsistent with 1742?
Whatever that paragraph was that I just read to you. I'll have to find it again.
Because we were talking about 2122, not 1742, so that's why
Well, they're supposed to coincide.
1742, what is it? B number 2. Because that is different than what we were saying in the last paragraph of section A. It's close, but it's different.
It's spelled the same way.
Number 2, A2 is what you're talking about?
We don't do anything like that.
B2.
B2. Yeah, we don't do anything like that.
And you're saying that's inconsistent?
Reading that paragraph, and I read the other paragraph, and they're close, but they're not quite the same.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
may I speak on this?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe if I'm reading the two policies together, the language Mr. Walter's looking at in 1742 looks at the situation of where a board member is receiving a complaint under, you have to go up to the first part, B1. The complaint should be received and addressed at the level closest to which the complaint originated. So there could be a circumstance in which a complaint coming straight to a board member may be appropriate. What if it's it's hard to envision, but what if it's a complaint by a board member? What if a complaint was by a board member about a board member? Well, then that complaint is going to be addressed at the board level. And so I don't read them as being inconsistent. 2122 is saying in general, when you receive a complaint as a board member, you refer them to 1742, and 1742B1 tells you the complaint should start at the level closest to which it originated, and it gives you the hierarchy going from teacher to Board of Education. And number 2 says any board member receiving a complaint after number 1, so we start by saying you should go to the place where it originated, and then you get the complaint as a place where it allegedly originated, and you say, okay, did it originate with me? If it was a complaint, for instance, against the board chair over a committee assignment, that would be a complaint. That would be appropriately resolved at the board level. And so I don't read those two as being inconsistent. But we could certainly try to clarify it, or we could even strike in 1742, any person receiving a complaint should verify. And we could play with that language if people do find it to be confusing, but I believe when you read two in connection with one preceding it, they follow in line.
Well, if we do anything to 1742, we would have to send it back to the committee because that's not what's being approved or disapproved at this point. We're just approving 2122. And so I go back to 2122. Do we have any language in 2021-22 that needs to be changed? Mr. Powell?
Let me scroll down.
I think the board attorney has spoken, and who are we to disagree?
Right. All right.
And Ms. Reimer, stuck record here. How many times has this policy 2122 come before the board to your recollection?
I would say a minimum of 3 times.
Thank you.
All right. So board members, we have 2122. Are there any changes to that? I haven't heard of any at this point, so I would like to see if we could field a motion to approve 2122.
I'll make a motion to approve 2122 by changing in section A the word will refer the complainant to may refer the complainant, and everything else as written in our update.
Mr. Chair, I believe motion was already made and seconded.
Huh?
Wasn't a motion already made and seconded?
Oh, okay.
Apologize for my excessive motion.
Who? Who made the motion? Oh, okay. David made the motion. Okay, and Tim, I missed that. Okay. So, board members, Mr. Harrison made the motion that we approve the policy 2122 as written. Mr. First seconded that motion, and so I have to exercise that first. All in favor of approving that policy as written, 2122, say aye. Aye. Oppose?
No.
All right, so we're at a 3-3. So that motion didn't carry.
That does not change.
So that then brings us back to the Mr. Powell had a motion.
Okay, you want me to repeat?
Yes, sir, please.
Everything's the same, except the one word will refer the complainant to may refer the complainant. So moved.
So that will be so basically if you change every will in this, then you'll be making several changes.
You said just that first one, wasn't it?
No. Oh, I thought you said to change the word will to may.
Just that first one, just the first sentence.
That's right.
Oh, in the very first sentence
Just
of
the
A.
first sentence.
Okay, well, that's not the way it sounded.
The word will is in there 8 times.
Well, he
Yeah.
just said the first sentence is the only one he said.
Yeah, so he's just saying
Yeah, that covers it.
an individual board member who receives a complaint concerning a school matter may refer the complaint to policy 1742, 5060, responding to complaints, and will also notify the superintendent. Is that what you mean? Because
Correct. It takes the conditional nature out of 1742 and puts it into this policy at the very beginning of the policy.
Doesn't that also say you don't have to follow the rule or the policy? Only if you want to. You know, also too, understand that these policies are also to protect us.
Okay. Well, now that I understand Mr. and Ms. Reimer, I'll let you speak.
The only thing I
please.
would say is, and Ms. Stone can speak to this as well, the committee did belabor over that because it was suggested in Mr. Powell's changes, and we talked a lot about May, and we did go back to the protection of the board, and then trying to use good judgment or no judgment, or when would I do it, when wouldn't I do it, and then I think Ms. Stone spoke quite a bit at our meeting about that as well. I don't know if she wants to speak about it right now or not.
Ms. Stone, would you like to enlighten the board?
At your pleasure, would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Okay. We spoke about this last week. It is there as protection for the individual school board members. This is a policy, obviously, that you all agree to on how you want to govern yourselves. It is the committee's recommendation, and I support the recommendation, that the language remain will, on the basis that it does provide a very clear and concise direction to a board member, and also provides additional protection to the board member when complaints are received. In thinking further about this following last week's meeting and discussion, we had a lot of conversation about the various types of complaints that come to board members. And I think one way to handle it in a very common sense manner is, as you're having that conversation with a member of the public, ask them, would you like to have some action taken on this or have your issue looked into? And if the person says yes, okay, well then go to this policy. It's a way of being able to weave it into the conversation in a very natural way, but that also ensures that you're taking the best course of action so that you're not having to make the judgment call as to whether this is a small complaint or a big complaint, because sometimes the initial statement you might hear from a member of the public could just be the tip of the iceberg. And so by having that and saying, would you like to have some further action taken on this? Why, yes, I would. You can then point them to the policy. If they say, no, I just want to voice my concern because I'm just frustrated in general and I don't like, insert the small complaint. We talked about bus times. We talked about lunch times. Then there's no need to make sort of a formal prognosis. But it is the recommendation of the committee, and it is the recommendation from the state policy template that this language is will, and that's the language that has been previously approved by previous boards when this policy has been before them and revised at least 3 other times in the past, actually 4 if you go back to when it was adopted. And so that would be the legal recommendation at this time. But again, it is a policy that you all as a board have created, and that you all can agree on how you want to govern each other's behavior and what course of action you want to take in terms of how you all will interact with members of the public and protect both your individual interests as well as the interests of the district and board as a whole.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion before us that we change 2122, change the very first sentence and the first will in the first sentence to may. Mr. Powell made the motion, and I believe Ms. Carpenter seconded that. Did you second that motion? Oh. Oh, it has.
There's been no second
Oh,
at
okay.
this point.
Okay.
But
So I'm looking for a second for that motion that Mr. Powell offered up.
But at this point, so we can get it on the table, I will second it.
Okay.
So we can get it on the table to
Okay.
discuss.
All right, so we now are ready for some discussion on the motion to change will to may in the very first sentence. Does anyone else want to add to the discussion?
Because
Ms.
we'll discuss
Carpenter?
it because the first motion failed. And one of the things, as they mentioned, as Sarah mentioned, is for our protection. And if a board member decides not to protect themselves, I think that falls on them. And I think that the majority of us have been on this board long enough to realize that it is for our own good, and that we are smart enough to know what is right and what is wrong.
My perception, with all due respect, Ms. Carpenter, is that if one board member chooses not to protect him or herself, that board member, in effect, I don't mean endangers, but fails to protect the rest of the board. That the one board member's actions have ramifications on the whole board. That one board member cannot act or not act without jeopardizing might also be too big of a word, but bringing the entire board into the matter. So one board member does not act alone. I think we often say something to that effect. And for one board member to maybe refer someone to this other policy or maybe not has implications on the entire board. It is my take.
Sarah, is Mr. Harrison accurate in his legal opinion?
There
And you know that, and you know where I got my law.
I will say it could give rise to a claim for a board member to obtain knowledge of something. For example, if it rose to a level of criminal wrongdoing or something very serious, if there is knowledge and that board member did not share that knowledge with the rest of the board and did not refer that person on to the policy and did not also inform the superintendent, who it's one of his requirements under his contract to investigate and follow up with complaints that are received. I will tell you that a good plaintiff's lawyer would certainly try to seize upon that and pin liability against the entire board. That's how those cases typically run.
Didn't you just say that if the person making the complaint to us says don't report it, then we're off the hook? That just seems so ridiculous to me that somebody said, you ask the person, do you want me to follow up with this complaint or not? And they say, no, that teacher just whistled at my daughter. I think that's okay. No, we don't. At some point, we have to use professional judgment. We know that. At some point, we're legally liable for reporting certain things. We know that. It's all given to us in the general statutes and a variety of other, I guess you could say, reportable offense type obligations. So to put additional constraints on our actions, I think, makes us individually liable, in my opinion.
If I may, that is not what I was recommending with the proposed course of action. It was simply you could ask the person, do you want to follow up, not do you want me to follow up? Obviously, if you, as a board member, receive a report of something criminal or of serious nature, you have an obligation to follow up on that and to pass it along. It was rather a situation of asking the individual, do you want to have someone look into the time of your child's lunch or not? Not a situation of whether do you want me as the board member to take further action. So I just want to make sure that's clarified.
And I need a legal lesson here. As board members, are we potentially individually liable, or are we potentially corporately liable, or both?
As your lawyer, we're getting very far down into some of the nuances regarding liability and immunity and action as a body politic, which may be more appropriate for me to discuss with you all in closed session, because I don't want to give legal advice in this forum that would show how someone trying to bring a claim against this board may be able to craft such a claim. But obviously, in terms of could you be sued in either capacity, anyone can go to the courthouse and file paperwork in that capacity, and obviously how we would defend against it, I'd rather discuss with you all in closed session, if I may.
One last question, Mr. Powell. Changing a word, I mean, what's the importance of changing that word that has been obviously okay for numerous boards in the past to follow? What is the reason to change it?
I personally think that giving guidelines to board members is fine, but putting language that restricts board member actions is troublesome. I think it shows a lack of trust among board members for their actions. I think it shows that the political nature of what we're doing up here. If just by a majority you can tell one other board member how they must behave when it's clearly given in the general statutes the parameters of their behavior, I think that's just unnecessary and restrictive. And as far as a legal sense is concerned, if somebody gives you a complaint now, and the language is sitting there that says you will, and for whatever reason you think it's a lowercase c and they think it's a uppercase C because the language says you will and you didn't, it gives them an arsenal or more of an argument to come after you individually, isolated from the board. That's two reasons, I think. Last meeting.
Okay, my question is, how, as being in the field of education, especially, we need to learn from things that are happening, and how can we adjust what's happening in our schools if we're not made aware of it? And a lot of the time, our community does speak to the board members, and for us to hear about that complaint, for example, right now, bullying is huge in our schools. If a parent chose to come to a board member and say that their child is being bullied, and this policy says may, but that board member chooses for some reason not to come to us, or not to go to the right person, that may not get addressed. And so, I mean, my concern as a teacher is, whether I've done something wrong or not, I need to be aware of it so it can be fixed and it doesn't happen again or get into a bigger problem.
That means leave it like it is, right? You're saying will instead of may. You're saying will instead of may.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Yes, personally, I feel that if there's a concern that comes to a board member, it's something that should be at least given the opportunity to be addressed by a school or a school board designee.
Bravo, Ms. Baumgartner. Thank you.
I think she just quoted policy 1742.
All right. Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll now put it up for a vote. All in favor of changing the policy 2122, the first will in the first sentence to may, say aye.
Is that the one is that my motion?
Yes, sir. That's your motion. Okay. So who else said aye?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed to that change to the motion, say aye. Aye. So that's 4. Opposed? Nay? Yeah, say nay. Okay. So that motion is defeated 4-2. Ms. Monroe? All right, so that takes us back to the first motion,
Okay.
which is even the policy as amended.
How
And
about
I would like to have a motion.
I'll make my motion is to
All right.
approve this policy, changing the word in the second paragraph of A from referring to assisting. That makes it consistent with the other policy, in my opinion.
Do what?
What,
did
is
he
it
do?
right here, it says in the second line.
The second line, changing the word referring to assisting, which is consistent with the other policy.
Referring, where?
Here's what it reads. The individual board members will refrain from taking individual action with regard to such complaints or inquiries other than, in Rob's words, assisting them to the appropriate resource, period. So it's the second paragraph, first sentence, and there's a word called referring in there, and he's asked to change that referring to assisting.
The other policy says assist the complainant. So this policy, I think, should be the same.
But anyway. But why would you assist them to the appropriate resource?
Assisting implies a certain ownership of the complaint, and referring to me would imply giving a person the means by which to get the complaint looked at,
Right.
but not to leave ownership or responsibility back on the board or the
So,
board member.
wait a minute, so we have a motion to change this, and
My fault.
by
So sorry.
Mr. Walter, and before we have any more discussion, I needed a second for that change.
I'll second.
Okay? So Mr. Powell has seconded the motion to change the word referring to assisting in the second paragraph. Continue on, Mr. Harrison. Are you finished?
The word refer is more explicit for the purposes of this policy and is more clear as to board member actions, and leaves the responsibility to carry forward the complaint on the complainant and gives them a means of acting on it. Assisting them becomes a co-ownership of the complaint, which I don't think is appropriate for board behavior.
Okay.
Mr. Board Chair, I just got a comment before we vote. I think somebody needs to invest in a tent for this circus we got going on.
Thank you, Mr. Any more discussion on this? Let's bring this to a vote. All in favor of Mr. Walters' motion to change the word referring to assisting in the first sentence of the second paragraph in section A, say aye. We have two. All opposed, say nay. Nay. So that motion does not pass with a 4-2 vote.
In that case, maybe we should just table this to another time.
No. So now we're back to, is there going to be a motion to approve Board Policy 2122, role of board members in interacting with public schools, as amended?
I think.
Okay, do I have a second to that? Mr. Furr seconds it for the second time. All right, board members, any more discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Powell.
I think this just highlights the absurdity of this policy in general. It's a policy that governs board behavior that is so overreaching and unnecessary. And it's the fact that, every time that we talk to people out in the public, that's what voters do. If you don't like what board members are doing, they get voted out. And to have a policy that says board encourages citizen participation, but yet we tell people in the schools not to talk to board members, this is kind of part of why I wanted to put this on here. And I agree with Tim Furr. It has become a circus because it's not necessary, and the simple version, like Carolyn said, that I offered up weeks or months ago is a much better version for this. But you can put anything you want in there. I don't think that David Harrison is going to change his behavior whatsoever based on this, and Vince Powell certainly isn't either. So go ahead and make the motion and second and move on, or get the vote going.
And we gave the simple version. We gave that to policy committee, but they wanted to, and that simple version was just what, 1 or 2 lines, and we did have that. That simple version was the policy we had in place at one time. And to me, why in the world we want to complicate? Yes, it was given.
The one that was given to us was a draft by Mr. Powell, which was completely changed from the original that was in place. That's the one that the committee took. That's the one we took to the committee.
It was improved.
Well, there was, that policy was one, something that was submitted to policy committee was something we had in place at one time.
Not in the form in which we took it to the policy committee, which came from Mr. Powell. It was not the same policy.
But because we had a very simple, it was only 4 or 5 lines we had in this policy to begin with. Is that not correct? Back when this policy, we had a very, very simple policy at one time.
The policy was recently revised in February 2015. I would have to sit with Ms. Burns and pull the various versions of the policy going back to 2015, 2010, and 2000. I frankly just do not remember when the various revisions were made.
We're talking about it was originally adopted back in '92 when it was originally adopted, which it was very, very simple and very nothing. And I know it didn't have anything about liaison, didn't have anything about school visits, and I know when I originally got on this board, it was not that complex. And, it was because of some board members that it got to be complex. And simple is sometimes a lot better.
So when we had brought this in February, I believe, Mark and I did some research and contacted the state board, and they found what they could find. And so that, I believe that was done before the February approval of the policy. So when we did the policy committee, we were looking at, is it Mr. Powell's? Mr. Powell's suggestions for changes. That's why it was sent back to the committee for that. I believe the other one was for the original PLS update that was approved in February. So we've actually worked on this policy since December. I believe it's been 7 months, with the exception of March because we had canceled our policy committee.
Board members, we have before us a motion to accept the policy with the current amendments to it, the current modifications and languages that are already in the policy as being presented to you on the see, is this the first reading? Second reading? No, on the first reading. So, I need a vote. Well, we're voting back on this one more time. So, all in favor of approving this policy as presented by the policy committee, say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right, so we'll have to table this to the July meeting. Mr. Louder, would you please come to the podium and help us? You're going to be talking about the approval of the design changes for Royal Oaks Elementary School.
Yes, sir. Assuming, that's a bad thing, assuming that we are going to have Royal Oaks as a arts magnet, there are certain design changes that must be made to the design before we go to construction. And in order to make those modifications, we have a change order to our architects for the tune of about $21,500, $600. I don't have the total of my things. My computer burned out here so long. Anyway, the bottom line is we're asking that you approve that change order so we can get these modifications made prior to beginning of construction.
Okay, Mr. Walter.
Okay, again, I asked for this to be on the action agenda, but in essence, if we approve this, we're approving a portion of this magnet choice plan, or the choice plan, which this board hasn't approved. So this is a cart before the horse type situation. Granted, it's whatever, $21,000 for design, right? To design?
Yes, sir.
But you're adding sound systems, you're adding a theater, you're adding a dance floor, you're adding glass, you're adding bars, you're doing all this stuff for a magnets program, which is great if that's what the board's going to approve, but the board may not approve that. Unless you want us here, go today and say, okay, we're going to approve this particular program, then I'm okay with that. But we have not approved our choice plan, and this Royal Oaks and what we're doing with that is part of this plan.
Mr. Van Huckelen.
Well, I think the major issue is timing, right, Tim?
Yes,
and
sir.
So, while we haven't approved the choice plan, that's true. We only have one shot to make these changes as we continue to build the program. So, you got to compare the cost of what we're asking versus the likelihood that we might have an arts magnet at Royal Oaks. Certainly, if there's not an arts magnet at Royal Oaks, will the students of Royal Oaks take advantage of those opportunities? Absolutely.
And we must realize that by the time you have your next board meeting, we will be in foundation mode at Royal Oaks Elementary School. And the modification to this plan does require some foundation changes, especially in the area where we have the dance studio, because of the soundproofing of the wall between the media center and what was makerspace. It will be converted to a dance studio. That has to be made, or else we will spend many more $1,000s modifying it after the fact. So that's just our choice, so whatever we'll do.
So if I understand correctly, then to the magnet program notwithstanding, if we don't approve this, are we jeopardizing the planned opening date of Royal Oaks?
No, we're just going to say that
But
you
it
will
will
have
cost,
to make
it will cost more than
modifications.
$21,600 to get back in the cycle of the architectural redesigns?
The redesigns that they would make that we have asked them for will be significantly different and have to have different modifications in order to accomplish the same goal.
Because other items in the project plan
The other
will
problems
have
will already
moved
be
along?
poured in place.
So in effect, we'll have to undo some,
Either undo it or modify the space some other way.
and you're saying now is the optimal time to approve this $21,600 for these changes?
Yes, sir. School's going down.
Ms. Carpenter?
And some of this could be used no matter if it's not a
it's just modifications to the structure to allow for more soundproofing, to allow for more lighting options, to allow for more things that go along with the program there. Yes, it can be used by any student. It doesn't have to necessarily be just specifically arts, but if you are going to have an arts program there, these things need to be in place to make that more effective.
And so it
It's not
could be
that
used
nobody can
either
use it.
way. It could
Any
be
student
used
can
for
use it for
STEM,
anything.
it could be used for anything like that. It could just enhance it. So we're not saying yay nor nay, and so it could just be an enhancement for the school itself.
It would just be a space that, even non-arts magnet students will use. I'm sure that just because they're not in the arts program does not mean they will not use the little dance studio as part of their program.
I'll make a
And
motion. to approve it.
enhancing the stage is enhancing the stage. So we're not saying either way. So I think it's prudent. I think it would be, wise for us to do that.
Yes, I did. I'll make the motion to approve as Mr. Louder has presented.
Okay, and do I have a second to that motion?
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion on this addition? All right. Board members, all in favor of approving the new Royal Oaks design changes, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, so that's 4-2.
Thank you.
All right. It takes us to the CCS Legal Services Agreement for 2016-17. What we need to do is extend the legal services contract with Womble Carlisle for the next year, and then in the meantime, the administration will begin to research their options with either hiring a local attorney to be on staff and then augmenting with or putting an RFP out for bid or not for bid, but to get a proposal for legal services, and then they'll make sure that this is in the budget. So is there any discussion on this? Last meeting, we didn't have much discussion. Mr. Powell?
Well, I don't know exactly what to propose, but I don't like the idea that we've been spending so much money on attorney services. I think that I would like to put something in place where if we're going to spend $18,000 a month on retainer like we've been doing, I know it's a slight reduction of a couple $100. I'd like to put a cap on that until we get this RFP, and if we do any additional attorney services, we look outside of Womble Carlisle. Somebody was telling me just some kind of absurd numbers of what we have, how many hours of attorney services we have been using for the $400,000 over the last several years, and if it just seems a little high based on what others in the surrounding area have been paying per hour. So that's just kind of my thoughts. You know, I know it's $17,800, but there's been about that same amount on top of that that we've been charged as well.
Any other comments on this? I know based on the analysis that we have, we are actually cheaper than Kannapolis, we're cheaper than Union County, we're cheaper than CMS. So, you know, yeah, we're still, there are others that are a little bit cheaper than we are as far as what we're paying on legal services, but we do have 30-some thousand students, and it seems that this county can be litigious at times. Last year we didn't have that much, but all we're trying to do is bridge the gap until we can have a chance to do an RFP for next year and get the administration to put together a budget process. And then if we decide to go from Womble Carlisle to some other group, then we have also a transition plan that will make sure that we don't lose our legal support. So, seeing no other comments, I now ask for a motion for the board to extend the legal services with Womble Carlisle in the monthly amount. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to extend legal services for the monthly amount of $17,800. I'm sorry, not to exceed $17,800 with all additional legal fees coming from firms outside of Womble Carlisle.
Do I have a second to Mr. Powell's motion?
What was the motion?
His motion was that Mr. Powell moved that the board would extend legal services with Womble Carlisle for 2016-17 at the monthly amount of $17,800 per month, not to exceed $17,800 per month, which is their base, but doesn't cover any of the other legal fees that come outside of that, which includes any type of liability or anything. But that was his motion, to then to put RFPs out if we need to for all other legal fees.
Well, we're doing the RFP.
Not until next year. Well, you know, 17,800 is a base rate, and it only covers. Pardon? Yeah. So, do I have a second for that motion? Okay, I don't see a second. So the original motion is still out there. Does anyone want to make a first for that motion?
Move to adopt as presented.
All right, is there a second for that motion? Okay. So this will be the engagement level with Womble Carlisle for the monthly amount of $17,800 per month, and then it provides the base legal services, and then it also has caveats in there for extra legal services if needed. All right, all in favor of supporting this motion?
And that's got the RFP in it, correct?
The engagement, it's got the engagement
do
letter.
an
We're-
RFP.
Well, yeah.
We're
to
approving
do-
an engagement letter. Is that
This
what-
is just for the engagement letter. The plan is to do an RFP and for the administration to come to us to decide whether they want to go with, that's part of their plan, which was not a part of this motion. This motion was just to get the extended
Do we
legal
need
services.
to do the motion after that?
We can do a motion after
Okay.
that. Okay. All right, so we'll do this motion, and then if someone so desires to create the motion to carry on a project to do the other part, we'll do that. All right, all in favor of this motion as written on the agenda, say aye. Aye. Oppose? No. All right, so that motion carries 5-1. All right, now, Ms. Carpenter, I believe you would like to make sure that we make a motion to codify the RFP process?
Yes, I would like, because I want to make sure that that gets done. I would like to, how they have it stated, an RFP for a staff attorney or legal services contract would be prepared for release in December of 2016 or January of well, I want it December of 2016. I don't want no, because I want to have it back in my hands by January of 2017. I want this done to allow time to receive proposal and smooth transaction the legal affairs of CC. Well, I want us to have a smooth, I want to have it done by, I would say, I'm going to say April of 2017.
Yeah.
I'm going to move it up some.
We were thinking, well, this is January, and then, yeah, this was just to allow time to receive proposal and smoothly transition by June 2017, so that at the end of this letter of engagement, it would be done. But, you know, the intent was to get the RFP out there so that we could judge it by March.
Okay, well, by March, okay, I'll say May. Anyway, I just want to make sure that we get it back, but anyway, I want to make sure that thing is released by December. I'm not going to push it out January, because you push it out, it keeps getting pushed out. I want it out by December of 2016.
Okay, so Ms. Carpenter has Ms. Carpenter's motion is that the administration calculate the budget impact and incorporate it into the budget process for 2016-17, that an RFP for a staff attorney and/or legal services contract would need to be prepared for release to the board in December 2016, and to allow time to receive proposals and smoothly transition the legal affairs of CCS by May 2017. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do I have a second to Ms. Carpenter's motion?
Second.
All right. Mr. Powell seconds that. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Oppose? And that motion carries 6-0. All right. All right. It's time to call for a motion to convene in closed session.
I make a motion that we go in closed session.
And is there a second? Ms. Carpenter, Mr. Furr, and the board will convene in closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3, consult with an attorney. Also, General Statute 143-318.11A6, to consider qualifications, competence, performance, character, etc. And finally, General Statute 115C-319 through 321. All in favor of going into closed session, say aye. Aye. Oppose? We're now in closed session.